can't find me. You may never wanna find me again. Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday night once again, and once again we have arguably too many people on this show, but that's just how much everyone loves me. They all come here to speak their mind on the biggest topics of the week of the show. It is episode 18 of the Barroom Podcast. Can you believe we made it all the way to 18? So some of you guys are
long grind.
Some of you guys have just been here and just haven't left yet. It's just kind of surprising that we've made it this far. But let's go ahead and go around the horn here and introduce everyone to the show. Of course, to my right, our good buddy Orange Hat Reviews is back for another episode. How you doing today?
Doing good. Now we can finally say that the Barroom Podcast is finally legal.
Yes. Legal in most.
That's 21.
You're counting drinking age. And then next to Orange Hat, we have Plain Murder Kitty, Miss Nerdigans, who's back with us once again. How you doing today?
Aww.
We're doing good on this era of Yom Kippur. It's not going to be fantastic tomorrow, but yeah, we're going to somehow binge eat before after this podcast, or maybe somehow sneak a bite.
Yeah, there's too many Jewish holidays to count, so I just stopped counting after a while. But best of luck to you in your fast. I'm pretty sure you're going to need it. Also joining us here for the first time in a while. I want to pronounce your last name because I want to butcher it, but Pete
Pishke. So it's like fish and key. Pishke.
Okay, Pete Pishke. You've been it's funny.
That's
you've
fine.
actually. Sorry. It's funny. You've been a part of the group chat for a while now. Then you made your first appearance on the show, so it's good to finally see your face and actually.
Yeah. I'm glad I could be here. I've always meant to get to it. It's just for whatever reason it wasn't happening. So thank you for having me on.
Well, you picked a good week to be on because we got a lot to talk about. And then,
seriously, there's so much in the news right now. It's crazy.
Trust me, there's a lot to talk about. And then joining us are not as special people because they've just been here week after week after week. Cassie's with us once again. 18 for 18 for Cassie. How you doing today?
Yeah, like I said, this is my home, so I'm not homeless. Thank you. Hope all is well with everyone. So it's good to talk about anything any topic that comes up. I'm always intrigued, and it's just fun to break it down with people with different and similar opinions. So,
and then of course the guy who broke his streak last week but is back with us once again is Mr. Rob Motto. 17 out of 18 isn't bad, right? That's still an A.
Yeah, I mean, I try to be consistent, but the truth is, whenever people try to schedule things with me, I'm incredibly flaky. So the fact that I've consistently done this since June is pretty impressive for me because I'm a complete deadbeat otherwise. So.
Well, look at it as you growing as a person. So I mean, look at it positively. And then of course, all the way in the bottom, lower tier square, our good friend C.S. Johnson is back. Apparently, he had a pretty decent Kickstarter that took place this weekend. You want to tell people about it really quick? Once you're not muted, of course.
Oh no!
Technical difficulties. Okay, well, we'll give her a second here to figure out how our audio button works. But we are here tonight to talk about a number of issues.
There she goes.
There you are. We can
Sorry,
hear
the
you
kids.
now.
Yeah, the kids are playing some games with Daddy, and they're really loud. So.
Kids' fault.
But I was
now.
saying I'm happy to show my stuff, so I sent you the link. You can share it with everybody, and everybody can give me their money. So.
All right, then I'm gonna go ahead and pass this off to the people in the chat right now, so you can definitely go out there and give Johnson your money. Speaking of the chat, give a shout out to Duke Nukem, who's joining us in the chat tonight. Neo, our good buddy, is also here in the chat with us. I know Spencer will be here later today when he's not, doing founding articles. It's funny because on our latest review of She-Hulk, which, by the way, I'm responsible for the first ever double goose egg on Bounding in the Comics as far as review goes. If you read my Bros review and my She-Hulk latest episode reviews, both 0 out of 10. And I think I've given 3 of the first 0 ratings in Founding and Comics history. So we got a double goose egg on the site if you guys want to go read that later today. But we actually are going to start off about one of the movies that we talked about last night, and that is a film called Bros. Last night's episode, which is on the channel right now, myself, Rob, and Rick went through a pretty in-depth review over the new Universal Pictures movie, the first ever gay rom-com in 100 years, as told by Billy Eichner and nobody else. It was not very good. I think we all collectively gave it a 0 out of 5, which I think is the first time that's happened since we've done our review show. And just in case you guys didn't know, his movie came out this weekend, and it did not do very good. It actually bombed pretty hard, and let's just say he's not taking it very well because he is blaming essentially everyone but himself for the fact that his movie bombed over the course of the box office this weekend. So this was a $22 million production budget movie that they used just for production, by the way, nothing to do with marketing. So $22 million, and right off the bat, it only made about 4.8 in its first weekend, which means that essentially less than about 300 people saw this film in the entire country. Nobody really watched this movie at all. And instead of coming out and saying, hey, it just wasn't our weekend, I'm so proud of the movie, no, he's pretty much blamed everyone but himself. He's blaming straight people for not going to watch his gay romantic comedy Bros. So keep in mind, this is a movie that in the trailers for this film had a line in there like mocking straight people, saying that they had a good run and blah blah blah. And I can only imagine why straight people didn't go watch this film, but it's not very good. And Billy Eichner, being the guy that he is, let's just say he's not taking things very very well. Here's another thing, real quick. The film Smile, which is a film that didn't really get much marketing outside of like one viral stunt, ended up doing like almost $30 million in its first weekend, which is absolutely ridiculous for a film that just kind of came out of nowhere. And then for a film like this one that got such heavy marketing by comparison to do a fifth of what that movie did is kind of embarrassing to say the least. Now, the film was also almost beat by the re-release of Avatar, which is a movie that's like 13 years old. That's been out for like 2 weeks already, and it still almost beat it. So the performance here just wasn't good. And then, of course, he decided that he was going to pass the buck in a series of tweets. This was his first tweet, which was the first of very many. Is that last night I snuck in and sat in the back of a sold-out theater playing Bros in L.A. I would love to know what theater that is because I'm going to press X out. He says that the audience howled with laughter from start to finish, burst into applause at the end, and some were wiping away tears as they walked out. Maybe it was because that bad. It was truly magical. Really, I'm very proud of this movie. Fair enough, whatever. You're putting your movie over. Who cares? But then here's where we start, getting into the foolishness. He says that Rolling Stones already has Bros on the list of the best comedies of the 21st century. I think that says more about Rolling Stones than your own movie. That also is true that at one point a theater chain called Universal, which is the studio for the film, and said that they were pulling the trailer because of the gay content. Then Universal convinced them not to. And he says, America, fuck yeah. So he's blaming homophobia for the fact that they wanted to pull that trailer. Now, the reality is that there was a Red Band trailer that they were showing in movie theaters for like the first few weeks when they were promoting it. And that trailer actually featured a gay orgy in the Red Band, right? And then when monkeypox started to break out across the world, they actually pulled the Red Band trailer and they replaced it with a trailer that didn't show that because obviously they didn't want the implication to be known that it was a gay sex that was spreading the disease around so many people so rapidly. So that's probably somewhat true, but I think there's a little more context to what Billy's saying that's missing here. Then he continues by saying that it's just the world that we live in, unfortunately. Even with glowing reviews, great Rotten Tomato scores, an A on Cinema Score, straight people, especially in certain parts of the country, so now he's throwing everyone outside of LA and New York under the bus, just didn't show up for Bros. And that's disappointing, but it is what it is. He continued, he's not done, by the way. Everyone who isn't a homophobic weirdo should go out and see Bros tonight. You'll have a blast. And it is special, uniquely powerful to see this particular story on the big screen, especially queer folks who don't get this opportunity very often. I love this so much. Go Bros. And then this is another tweet here. Oh, yeah, he's still talking about the whole 100 years thing, which I said I pretty much doubt that was absolutely true to begin with. So the article goes on to continue about this whole guilt-based marketing when it comes to these films, where they're just telling you have to go watch this movie, because if you don't, then you don't support. If you don't watch The Woman King, you don't support Black women. If you don't watch Don't Worry Darling, you don't support women in general. If you don't watch this movie, you don't support gay people. So it's almost trying to guilt you into the theaters, and this strategy is just not working at all. People are not buying this one bit whatsoever. There was also another star of the film who I actually have a meme for. I'm going to have to pull that up in a second, but she had said something along the lines of just go see the movie. It's like, this is not how you market a film. People, you can't threaten and guilt people into watching shitty movies. That's not going to work, especially when people have to put in the effort of spending money to go see this shit in the first place. So, Rob, we saw this last night. I said we were going to hold off to talk about this particular portion of the film off the bat, so let's just kind of go ahead and get into it. What do you think of Billy Eichner's meltdown over the fact that his film bombed, and he's clearly not taking it very well?
Yeah, I think that it's just an issue of him being so tone deaf that, he was tone deaf when shooting this movie and when creating it, and he's tone deaf now that nobody wants to go see it. Nobody wants this sort of stereotypical, obvious cringe fest. Especially, and it's a terrible representation of the gay community, and it reduces them down to a bunch of like hedonistic animals or something. Like, it's just so ridiculous. Yeah. And look, good movies don't have to protest about how good they are and how much you should go see them. They should sell themselves as ideas, and it's like and engage with the public. So this was an utter failure. It blew up in his face. I personally enjoy seeing that, but just as a business decision, nobody should do business with Billy Eichner. He's annoying. He can't generate an audience, and I wouldn't pay to see him. I didn't, even though I saw the movie. And I can't imagine that Universal's gonna do a sequel or any future business with him.
Yeah. And keep in mind, this is a film that had only a $22 million production budget, which, considering the grand scape of what Hollywood has blown up to, especially today, is pretty much nothing. That is essentially a small budget movie. There's a very good chance it might not even make its production budget back. Pete, you're the new guy here, so I want to let you get a chance to talk about this subject. What do you think about Billy Eichner's comments and just movie bros in general?
It's really interesting. There is some objectivity, or just things that everybody kind of knows that are being ignored here. Like, everyone knows there are basically two dumping periods in a year for films, and that's, of course, going from January to February, and then September into October. That's when the bad movies get released. We all know this. Everyone knows that. Unfortunately, the media needs something to talk about. So, they have to get their clicks in. They have to have something to complain about, and this movie came out at just the perfect time for that. I feel a little bad for Billy Eichner, because this is kind of like how I feel like, you cover comics a lot, Society Reviews, with like people like Heather Antos, where they're kind of walked up this garden path and they're put through the process. They're told how amazing they are. And they really get this feeling like this is going to be big. This is going to do really well. And they're kind of shielded a little bit from the hard realities that people are not interested in this project. And so it comes out and it doesn't do as well as what was promised. And how do you react to that? And I think it's common. You see so many people kind of have a freak out. And that's a little bit understandable, because that's their career, their livelihood, that's their dreams. And they find out all of it was sold on the line. I think any of us probably react similarly. That doesn't mean his movie isn't terrible. It is. But as one human to another, I can understand a little bit why these kind of things happen.
Orange Hat, let me ask you for a second. You talked a little bit about this. I think you did a video about this earlier this week, about the whole like meltdown for bros. So just from an outsider's perspective, because I think me and Rob are pretty much the only ones that actually saw this film for the sake of review, or at least for me, I did for multiple sites. But what's kind of just your general thoughts on why you think this movie failed? Could it have anything to do with Billy Eichner's personality as a human being that people didn't want to go see this movie?
Not only that, it's just that what have they been, or what do people automatically do? This is a trend that is growing. What do people usually do? Well, if this movie doesn't succeed, you're a bigot. And also, the Red Band trailer didn't help them. You're showing a freaking orgy, a gay orgy in a theater. It's like, I'm sorry, but that's kind of pornographic. What if I was bringing my kid to see a movie? You honestly think that would be healthy? You're not doing yourselves any favors there. A $22 million budget, you got $4 million. Well, there's a high chance you might bomb. And if you bomb on a $22 million budget, you're not only going to be the laughing stock of the entire cinematic world, you're going to basically not want to show your face around Hollywood for a while. Now, obviously, he's going to be able to because he's playing a gay guy and whatnot. I don't know if Billy Eichner is gay in real life. I don't care. But all I know is if your movie didn't attract the audiences enough for them to put money in the bank, well, then maybe you should have thought about what you were trying to make in the first place. People are sick and tired of the identity politics. They are starting to wake up and kind of be repulsed by all of the identity politics. That is why movies like Woman King, what's this one called? Bros, and so many other movies are not doing as well as they could be doing, especially if your marketing is just saying, oh, come and watch this gay representation film, or we got a gay sex scene, or we got a gay orgy. People are not going to the movies to whack off. People are going to the movies to escape reality. They want to get away from the vigors of the world, the problems that we're all going through. So why not just make a movie that is entertaining, that has a nice story, and there you go. Stop trying to market it as this big old agenda-driven nonsense, and maybe people will go watch it. I mean, honestly, if they had marketed it a different way, or even marketed it in my area, I probably would have been like, well, I got nothing better to do. Why not? Then I probably would have walked out of the theater once I saw a gay orgy, and it's like, I don't need to see that shit. I'm sorry, that's not my thing. So goodbye.
But this isn't like a gay movie like someone mentioned in the comments, Brokeback Mountain. This isn't like Rent, where you actually have a legit story from the gay community for the gay community. It's nothing like that. This is just a bunch of smut.
And like I said, it's essentially a gay Hollywood movie. It's not even for gay people in general. It's for gay people who live in like West LA and like the lower side of like New York City. It's like that's the whole crowd. It's like it doesn't represent gay people by and large at all. I mean, they introduce a lot of degenerate shit in this thing, like this idea of like, you know, thruples and, oh, we're going to have a gender reveal orgy, which is going to be a good because we're adopting a kid. It's like, oh, yeah, that's totally not a red flag. That should be investigated by the cops in any way, shape, or form. And there's a lot of things in this film that is just like you just shake your head and they expect you to be like, oh, no, this is just completely normal in our community. Well, it's like, well, this is the stuff that you're trying to normalize. Then don't be surprised when people push back on shit like this. Like, just don't. And
going back to Rent took place in New York, and Rent had a lot of serious issues that was taking place throughout the gay community around the country. And technically, you can make the argument around the world at the time. We're talking drugs, we're talking AIDS. And it wasn't just gay people either. You had straight people too, with the main characters as well. But the people that audiences remember the most are Angel, of course, who was the gay man that died in Rent.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that Team America song, Everybody's Got AIDS. We wouldn't have that without Rent.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, and I think like there are other movies like The Birdcage is a great movie from the 90s that's about a gay couple who has to hide the fact that they're gay for their son's benefit, and it all comes unraveled, and like it's a hilarious farce, but it's like that's a movie. And like all of these things have ideas behind them. Bros is completely barren of any creativity, any ideas worth exploring.
Yeah, except for degenerate ones, of course. Johnson, you're the mother here, so let me just ask you a question. How come you didn't take your kids to go see this movie, you bigot? Why did you go support this film?
Because I didn't want to get arrested burning down the theater, apparently.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, let me just put it this way: if you wanted to kill,
badass though.
I just tell you this much: if you wanted to kill Ezra Miller as bad as you do, then I think you would probably not like.
She wanted to kill the Flash. Thank you, sir.
Oh yes, I'm sorry, the Flash.
Yes.
Yes. Fictionally.
The answer to crazy is not more crazy.
Yeah. She's only calling for the fictional murder of a comic book.
The fictional murder is perfectly reasonable.
Yes. Yes, no doubt.
Well,
as opposed to the actual.
Yeah. Well, but Cassie, let me ask you this: you're not a big modern movie buff, even though we will be seeing the Halloween film here in a couple of weeks. But what is it about this film that didn't make you want to go see it? Because I mean, I'm pretty sure a whole bunch of people decided they were just like, nah. So what made you make that decision?
I am the most non-romantic person on planet Earth. Just the very idea of me watching a romantic comedy makes me want to throw the fuck up. It doesn't matter if it's a gay romantic comedy, a straight romantic comedy. I mean, the only ones I could watch are ones that are a bit on the nostalgic side, and even then, it's like I'd have to be in like, I don't know, like I would want to revisit like this actor or actress's catalog or something type of mood. So to get me to watch a fucking rom-com that involves a bunch of gay men acting absolutely degenerate and has absolutely nothing to add to the medium besides the fact that apparently, according to Billy Eichner, it's the first gay rom-com or some shit like that. It's just like, I don't give a fuck. And when it comes to people like Billy Eichner, he's a classist pig. I left New York because of fucking assholes like him. These people, he's protected by Hollywood because more than likely just because he's gay. That's typically how it goes for these types. And he clearly thinks that he's better than everyone else and thinks that he is entitled to our money. And it's like, who the fuck do you think you are to think that you're entitled to anyone's money? Earn it. If you want people's money, make a film that more than 5% of a potential viewership. Make a movie that would actually be released in more than just progressive countries. Make something that a good amount of people actually do want to see. And it's like, you made a film that maybe 5% of America would want to see, and even they didn't go out to see it apparently. So not only is it made for a very specific niche, but also it's a piece of shit that niche doesn't even want to waste their time or money watching. So I mean, look, if you want people to go out and see your movie, make good movies.
They went to see Scream.
I think that's pretty standard advice. I will say, like, so I know from just being, so I'm an author, right? Okay.
Yeah.
My Kickstarter is set from my collection back here. It's the Omnibus collection. This is my first major publishing project.
Nice.
And, when I wrote it, it was a passion project. I'm still writing. So a lot of my stuff is like that. And I can kind of understand why he would say these things. Because you want the money that you put into it, the time that you put into it, the passion and tears, fears, all the sweat, the blood, maybe human sacrifice at some point. Everything that you put into this thing, you want it to succeed. And you get really, really frustrated when it doesn't, maybe. I mean, I'll be a little bit more honest. Okay. Like the Starlight Chronicles, when I first started doing it, was the beginning years of self-publishing. It was very hard to see a return on my money, especially since I didn't know what I was doing. So, I mean, I love all my covers, but like they're really expensive and editing is a big expense, especially when you just start out and you just have no reference for how much stuff actually costs. And I think a lot of people in Hollywood are running into money problems because there is a kind of like open secret about Hollywood fudging the numbers around a lot of their films. Like half of you are nodding. So
no,
yeah.
It's not only that, but it's like as we've said before, it's like these studios, like most of these studios are owned by major corporations anyway. So the actual studio part of the business. It's only like a very small part of the overall portfolio for these major corporations. That's why you're seeing, the Universals pushing stuff like this, because Universal Studios is only a small portion of Comcast and what they own and represent. Disney, we know Disney Studios, but Disney is a much bigger corporation. I think the only true studios you have left at this point, you can argue maybe Warner Brothers, because I think they're having a lot of financial issues because of that. Paramount, I wouldn't even call Paramount that, because Paramount's actually a part of a much bigger organization too. So they have a lot of other outlets that they can go to as well. So yeah, you don't really have a lot of major studios following that old school Hollywood studio format anymore. You just don't. So
yeah, judging by the low budget, I don't. Yeah, I would say, but judging by the lower budget of the film, I would say he probably didn't have a lot of the safety net. Like, I mean, there's all sorts of like with overperformance for certain films, how many of those are ghost tickets? How many did the company buy? Did the company incentivize its employees to buy them, and they just didn't show up? But they were like, "Hey, I bought stuff. Reimburse me." I mean, there's a lot of creative financial things that you can do to prop up a film.
Yeah.
And being as niche as it is, and being as kind of like I wouldn't say avant-garde necessarily, but just putting the gay spin on a rom-com in general in today's society is kind of risky, because it's a very small, sorry, children. This is just a very small sort of like sector of people that would really be interested in it. So
yeah. Well, I'm gonna get everyone
like being an artist, just like
final thoughts on this topic here, and yeah, I guess the final thoughts on this topic.
I was just kind of saying, I'm sympathetic. But I agree with basically everything else what everybody said.
So final thoughts on this topic here. I'll start with Pete, and then anyone else who wants to chime in on this subject of just the film bombing and Billy's bitching about it on social media.
I think overall the story is a good thing. I think it's been proven pretty well that using the stick no longer works. I think for bigger projects like you're seeing with like She-Hulk or the Rings of Power, you can get away with some of that because you can push enough media people to get enough buzz that you can get some views over there. But I think for more niche projects like this one, I just wrote about the failure of G4 TV, where it's harder to get a mainstream audience. It doesn't work at all. You can no longer scare or intimidate people into liking something. I think that's proven right now. People are burnt out. None of us have the extra cash to spend seeing ridiculous projects. I have no problem with the movie existing. I mean, that's cool. More movies for whoever, that's fine by me. It's just not my thing. That the problem is when you say that we have to like something or we have to do something because there's some kind of moral standard that we must meet, and somehow if we don't, we're failing. It just doesn't work. It doesn't appeal to people. It doesn't even appeal to the audiences these movies are targeted to. And it's not like gay people, those who are LGBT, whatever you want to say, like their taste buds for film doesn't work. They aren't going to like your terrible thing because you clicked all the right moral taste centers. It just doesn't work. But I feel like this is a positive momentum. I think we are going to see major changes in the media. Because people are just done with us. We're done. The 2010s will be remembered as this time where they tried to intimidate everyone and push them into liking things that were just objectively not very good. And now we're leaving that. And now it's back to, well, you kind of have, the producer, the creator, have to bring something to us, and you have to prove yourself if you want our time. You aren't just going to be given it freely.
All right. Anyone else got something to add to that before we move on to our next topic?
I'm going to say this. I'm a hopeless romantic.
People.
I'm going to say this. I'm a hopeless romantic, and I love romantic comedies, but man, I've seen better gay stories, romantic stories in Yaoi Doujinshi than I've seen in this movie. And that's saying a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, go ahead, Rob.
Oh, I just wanted to say real quick. I mean, talk about niche. That then their own niche didn't want to go see it, and like the best niche in movies is horror, because those people will go see anything. If they feel like it's going to be good, they will show up opening weekend and be like, how, and it just blows me away because the movie might not even be very good, but it doesn't matter because they want that theater experience of a horror movie. And so I my hat's off to them because they know what they're doing. But yeah, this movie had no audience, and it completely miscalculated its marketing and who it was even for.
Yeah. And just real quick, by the way, before we move on to our next topic here, is that this whole month of September was absolutely terrible. You had The Woman King 3 weeks ago. You had Don't Worry, Darling 2 weeks ago. Then Bros last week. And because of that, I think we've had the lowest box office results in like 25 years since like 9/11, because none of those movies inspired anyone to go to the movie theater. I think it was Chirping who just asked. No, I think it was actually Neo who asked the question. The Woman King bombed at the box office. Well, it has a $50 million production budget, and I think it's only made $50 million so far, which means that it still has to make up its marketing. It could at least break even, but it's not looking good so far. None of these films are looking very good. Like, I know Don't Worry, Darlings actually had decent success. I'm pretty sure they will turn a profit on that film, but Bros, like I said, if you only did $4 million off of a $22 million movie, you're not in a good spot right now. So before we move on, as you can see, we have a lot of people on the show tonight, so we'll just add somebody else to the show. Let's invite Rick. How you doing today, Rick?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Good to see everyone.
Good to see you too, Rick.
Yep, and I guess you came in at the great time because we're now talking about making characters gay. So let's move on to the announcement that Velma has finally been confirmed as gay. So, yeah, this is literally an exercise of wishing something into reality. So for decades now, people have tried to make the argument that, oh, no, Velma's totally gay. She's a gay icon, and we need to make her gay in canon. And even though, you know, multiple creators, I'm talking about real creators, I'm not talking about like the directors or writers of these bullshit ass projects. I'm talking about like the actual creators have thoroughly stated over and over again, and that's not how they intended the character to be, even though that we've had instances in the past where she has been in heterosexual relationships and she has had eye for dudes, not gals. Because this is, I don't know what community you want to label this one as, I've been obsessed with turning Velma gay. They finally done it because there's a new Scooby-Doo movie coming out, which is, I guess, in canon confirming that Velma is into the carpet. Let's just put it that way without getting kicked off of YouTube. So, yes, Velma Dinkley is officially a lesbian now who gets googly-eyed over a new female character. This is from Breitbart, by the way. Like I said, LGBTQ fans for years have insinuated that Velma is gay. They have demanded that they make her gay. And because I think the OG creator of Scooby-Doo died like a couple of years ago, so they're coming out with this new Halloween special, which is now giving the small community, which clearly doesn't go out and support movies, as we've already proven, they've given them what they want. So now Velma is in love with this person of color in this series called Coco Diablo, which is a very, very interesting and, quote, dumb name for a hip black woman with long white hair who also appears to be a lesbian in this film as well. So apparently that's the only real thing that they have going for this this whole movie that they're trying to do here, is that we finally turned her gay. And in the course of doing that, we've already have calls going out saying that, well, now that we finally got Velma to be gay, we need to turn Daphne bisexual, because that's apparently another thing that people have been begging for. And now there's no way to protect canon. Apparently, that's something that's going to happen over the course of the next couple of years as well. So, and then this also started with James Gunn, who, when he did the Scooby-Doo films back in the early 2000s, said that he wanted Velma to be gay, but the studio kept watering it down, not allowing him to do that for very good reason, because 20 years ago, Scooby-Doo was still a kid's cartoon. That was still very popular. So it's like, why would we even do that and ruin our bread and butter? But now that canon no longer matters now, because, you know, we're in control and multiverse and shit like that. We can do whatever the hell we want to do. So Velma is gay. How do you guys feel about that one? I'll start with Cassie, because Cassie was very happy when I told her about this one. So go ahead, and we'll start with you.
It is sad that creators are so fucking bankrupt that they resort to going on fanfic.net to get fucking ideas for their projects. That this is how low it has gotten. It is pathetic. Like, it really is pathetic. And these people just deserve to be mocked and shamed. They can't create their own shit and do what they want with it, because it would be an abysmal failure, because, like I said, they have no fucking talent. So they have to obviously dip into what is nostalgic and fuck with it. And I have no interest in watching this. I haven't really been watching new Scooby-Doo stuff. The most recent thing, I guess you could say, that I visited in regards to Scooby-Doo is watching Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. And like those string of movies for me was like the last hurrah of Scooby-Doo. Like Scooby-Doo at its arguably its peak with those films, because they were really, really good back in like the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. So it's just one of those things where Scooby-Doo unfortunately has been on a decline. They kind of just continuously put out stuff. And I remember this one series that had this horrendous, disgusting art style that looked absolutely pathetic. And it just seems to be getting more creatively bankrupt as time goes on. So I still love Scooby-Doo. I do occasionally watch the cartoon when I do get the chance. And I'll just look back at the nostalgic times and watch that. I won't watch this. I don't care. They're doing this. It's more one of those things where I feel like it's done intentionally just to piss people off. I don't think there's any goodwill in any of this shit. It's just, who can we make mad now so that we can get some free advertisement off of this nonsensical bullshit that we're doing? Like, there's no goodwill behind it. They don't give a shit. So, therefore, I don't give a shit.
Well, by the way, I think Cassie is right, because I looked at the IMDb earlier and it was at 3.8 stars out of 10.
Shocker. I'm absolutely stunned.
But the other thing I have to point out, because this is what really frustrated me the most, is that out of all the things to survive HBO Max's Purge, you got this and you got Mindy Kaling's Velma surviving. Out of everything to survive, Batman, Gumball, the Looney Tunes specials that looked really good that got purged. These two things.
I won't watch that either. They took Elmer Fudd's gun away, so I refuse.
Yeah. Orange Hat, let me ask you a question here real quick, because I think we talked about this a couple of weeks back with another project. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we were talking about the idea of protecting your IP, essentially gatekeeping at all costs, because what happens is when you don't protect your IP, I think we were actually talking about this with Lord of the Rings, if I'm not mistaken, but when you don't do this, you get these weirdo people who essentially, like what happened with Tolkien, they waited for him to die. They waited for him, his son, to be out of the picture so they could essentially take his IP and finally do what they wanted to do with it, even if it was at the direct odds of what the actual creator wanted to do to begin with. But as we know, these people don't care. They're going to keep coming until you're no longer there to essentially defend yourself and defend your IP. And people, these are the same people who complain about gatekeeping. Oh, you're trying to gatekeep us out. This is exactly why people are trying to gatekeep you out. Am I preaching to the choir here, or what do you think, Orange?
Honestly, you're absolutely correct, because the thing is, this is what happens when gatekeepers who are actually just wanting the lore preserved, they just want it to be respected. This is why we do, or people do, gatekeep. Me, I'm a gatekeeper on Tolkien. I want his work to be respected. And I've said so many times, and people want to come at me saying, oh, you're a gatekeeper on Star Wars and Tolkien. It's like, you're damn right I am. Because what I see happening now is not respect to something that I have grown up with. Freaking eat, sleep, bled, loved, and all sorts of stuff. Collected all sorts of merchandise on. I mean, for crying out loud, I have the One Ring.
Yeah.
And whatnot. But when you have, or Velma being gay or bisexual or whatever, it's like, I'm sorry. As we said behind the scenes, I'm not going to get too explicit, but it's like, with all this crap going on, cuties, sexualizing children, making everything have to be freaking sexual. I mean, you could go, why not just say what you want to say and fully go to the extremes? Because honestly, what's stopping you? Everybody seems to think it's fine to do all this crap nowadays when it's not. And Now, does that mean that I have a problem with gay people? Absolutely not. I'm part of the freaking community, for crying out loud. But the thing is, I have limits. I don't need to keep seeing other LGBTQ people on the screen to feel represented. All I want to see is an intelligent story that if it is an adaptation to something, make it faithful to the adaptations. Velma was a nerd. She really wasn't that sexual anyway. Yeah, she had the curves. Yeah, she had the figure. But it was also always covered up by a freaking skirt and a goddamn turtleneck. Who cared?
She was very conservative. Daphne was always seen as like the sexy one, and Velma
was a sex symbol.
The reserved, intelligent one that people did find attractive, but she was clearly meant to be absolutely different from Daphne. They clearly have their own interests.
Pete, let me ask you this. Go ahead. Finish your point.
I mean, it's like Cassie said earlier. And I just think that it's like you really don't need to keep pushing this crap. Because honestly, you're only pushing things or people away. I have always loved Scooby-Doo growing up. One of my favorite movies from Scooby-Doo was the one where they were where Shaggy and Scooby were teachers at the Monster Academy with the kids of all the famous monsters. That was one of the best freaking movies. Exactly.
Yeah, that was such a good one.
Now, instead of revisiting something like that, they have to just keep. It's like, oh my God, is there no limit to where they will go? That's all I gotta say.
But there is a clip that I saw that was so funny, and this is when Daphne or like Velma's hitting on the girl, and Scooby and Shaggy are just looking in disgust at the whole thing, and I'm just cracking up. And I'm like, how is no one like calling Shaggy and Scooby bigots for being totally over this?
There was a couple of clips, but I know for a fact that Warner Brothers is going to clamp down on that one. So it's like, there's no point in trying to play it. But I want to go to Pete real quick. I know you talked about this a little bit on the Twitter, but what is just kind of your general thoughts on this whole mission to make Velma gay?
It's just, it feels weird because it's like, Scooby-Doo, really? I mean, what other old Hanna-Barbera property are we now going to retool? Are we going to retool the Smurfs, or what was the one with the shark? Jabberjaw? We're bringing back Jabberjaw.
Joking and the Pussycats is next, so get ready for that one.
Joking aside, Scooby-Doo is a pretty high performer. I think it might be the most successful Hanna-Barbera property they have, which is probably why they allowed this one to scoot through. And so many projects, like Nerdigan said, at WB, especially animated projects, were finished or almost finished, and they just didn't air them. They put them as tax write-offs, or they hid them where the sun doesn't shine. We will never see them. And this is the one that gets by. And the animation, it looks pretty decent. They're kind of going for a 1960s feel, but this retcon, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It feels like they don't really know who their target audience is. Scooby-Doo was one of those very protected properties. If you know anything about the history of animation, my favorite Scooby-Doo, most people if that remember the movies from the late 90s and the 2000s, what was it? Scooby-Doo to Zombie Island, and the movie where you find out that the zombies actually are real. Excellent movie, animated by Mook Animations from Japan. How a lot of the people in anime today got their start there. Great film. Hanna-Barbera was so protective when they revisited the story in 2011 or 2012. They had to retcon. They actually, the zombies weren't real. That was the kind of thing. That was like, that's how protective Hanna-Barbera, how protective these companies used to be about their property. Like, we can't do anything to shake things up. We have to protect them, with gloved hands and the lightest touch. And it is interesting to see how much that's changed. Some people make the mistake of thinking that people who are gay or LGBT, whoever are affected by these changes that are supposed to benefit, many of them are often not for it, because for one, it feels demeaning. It's like, you obviously are changing something. You're not creating something original or new. You're changing something already established, just to kind of fit to pigeonhole for us, and we don't appreciate it. We don't really feel cared about. And a lot of people, are people, and they look at stories and they say, well, that character may be gay or that character may not be gay, but I relate to them because they're an interesting fully fleshed character. And so when they see things like this, like DC Comics did with Tim Drake last year, they don't say, "Oh wow, golly gee whiz, that's wonderful." Like sometimes people on the right may think everyone on the left kind of is like. It's like, no, what are you doing? This isn't what we wanted at all. And I think it's why ultimately these kind of things always fail. The special is going to come out. It's going to annoy some people. Folks like at Kotaku the Mary Sue are going to bring this up for the next 5-10 years, but most people never remember this. It's not going to do great. Maybe it'll do a little bit okay since it's October's when released. It's just going to be like a fart in the wind. People are going to forget this happened, and that hardcore Scooby-Doo people, and there are hardcore communities for any of these properties, whether it's like She-Ra, as many of us learned when all that stuff was going down on Netflix. You just made them mad. And the next time you want to float some hard to make project and get normal people interested, that important pipeline from the nerds to the normies, that is going to be much harder to pull off. And so this is like a short-term buzz to hurt your long-term gain. And I just don't think it's going to work.
Well, someone actually called this like Kevin Smith's He-Man, Masters of the Universe, the Scooby-Doo film. I was just dying.
I believe it.
There's a very big difference.
What's crazy though is that what Nerdigan said actually kind of shocked me, because it's like Velma was hitting on the girl. Like Velma always came off as the shy girl, like complete opposite of Daphne. Like they got along really well, which is like, that makes sense because normally like opposites can be like super close buddies and shit like that. But Velma was the one that hit on this shit, like completely out of fucking character. There's nothing at all in the many, many years of Scooby-Doo that would lead me to believe that is Velma's character.
Well, like we've
Complete,
seen
utter
Velma
nonsense.
flirt before in like Witch's Ghost and stuff like that. And to an extent, even in Zombie Island, we've seen Velma flirt, but not like this.
It's never her to
Not
actually
like this.
do
It
that.
was never thirsty like this.
That's weird, man.
I actually want to hit Rob and then the other guys with this question, because I think Rob, Johnson, and Rick, pretty sure you guys are at least around the same age as me. Well, even though Rick is a little bit older, but I know you guys remember growing up watching Boomerang cartoons and things of that nature. You were around that same time period. So I want to ask you, how big of fans were you of Scooby-Doo growing up, and what is kind of just your perception of this quote-unquote victory that we finally got Velma to be gay? I'll start with Rob, actually, and then I'll let the other guys go.
Yeah, I mean, I have some fond memories of Scooby-Doo, and like, I mean, those weren't the cartoons I watched. I was more of a WB Kids kind of cartoon guy, but
Okay.
I was actually surprised that like I thought Scooby-Doo was fucking stupid. But then like I would actually sit down and watch, and I couldn't stop watching it. Like I would get it, like I needed to figure out who the monster was, or who was behind the, what was going on. And so, there's a bit of a relationship there. I think the movies looked really stupid. I never watched them, but they looked fucking dumb. But anytime people change a character that's already established, I mean, it is a middle finger to the fans, because those are the people that are going to come back time and again if you make good content or good product. It just seems like they want to revamp things just to, keep it fresh, and it's just kind of a slap in the face to fans and the people that are going to be, into it.
Well, I'll just say that something that Pete and Rob have touched on is, just changing a character to make him or her gay, bi, whatever. It just doesn't work. I mean, there was I was reminded of the controversy when the people from Star Trek decided to make Sulu gay because George Takei in real life is gay, and even George Takei was like, "No, that's not what Gene Roddenberry wanted. Why are you changing it? You're not pleasing me. We don't need that." So I'm puzzled, but then I'm not attached to Scooby-Doo. I think the last Scooby-Doo I watched was the one where Mama Cass was
Mama Cass? Mama Cass?
It's
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Mama Cass was like a guest star.
Well, why don't you bring back the Harlem Globetrotters while you're at it?
Yeah, might as well. So
it's fucking
no.
Don Knotts.
God, that's old Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
I would honestly
that
watch
is old
that if they brought back Don Knotts, the Globetrotters. They got me.
Yeah.
I'm right there now.
But I'm as a Gen Xer, because they do have things called reruns. I'm reminded of that Nirvana song. What is that? What's the line? What else can I say? Everyone is gay. That's all apologies. And they're turning. I mean, it's amazing how many characters we have seen turned gay in popular culture and properties. We've already had bros. We've already had other characters come out as gay. We have now Velma's coming out as gay. I'm waiting for Peppermint Patty to declare her love for Marcy at this point, because we might as
I think that
well.
already happened.
Oh, you see, I don't know, maybe, but
No.
you think again? This reminds me of that line that the love that dare not speak its name is now the love that won't shut up, because we just have endless representations for LGBTQ people, and we have this now. Apparently there are so many, I guess, lesbians who demanded Velma become someone that they could relate to. I don't think you even need that. I'm waiting now I'm waiting to see more LGBTQ characters, because apparently we don't have enough. It's time for Pinky to admit that he really loves the brain in that special way,
Man,
because
stop giving him ideas, bro.
yeah, they might as well. That's why Pinky stays with him so long in spite of the abuse.
You know
'Cause
what?
He just loves that big head.
Because they're lab rats. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
You know what? I have no representation. I demand that there be more half Hispanic, half white tomboys in anything. I deserve to be represented. Why are gay people overrepresented in Hollywood and in television? This is bigotry, blatantly.
This is massive overrepresentation in terms of population. It's almost become farcical at this point. I mean, you have so much. This is why I think a lot of people generally think that the LGBTQ population is at 20% or 30%. It's not even 6%, I think. And we just see so many people I think was it Bill Maher had a bit about the younger you are, the higher percentage of LGBTQ you are. So he made a joke like in 80 years we're all going to be gay, because it just feels that there's overwhelming. And there's nothing wrong with representation, but now you are going back, you're changing characters to have quote representation. I don't think there's a massive amount of overrepresentation for LGBTQ characters. I wouldn't have objected. I don't really care if Velma's turned gay. I think it might have been more believable if Scrappy Doo finally came out, just admitted that he was gay.
No one likes Scrappy Doo anyway.
Do it.
So
No, I don't think anyone would care.
Well, it's kind of like the equivalent of the Beauty and the Beast live action remake where they made LeFou gay, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
not stretching that far.
Only kind of, sort of.
Well, Johnson, they're going to do Josie and the Pussycats sooner rather than later, too, so you might as well get ready for that to be ruined as well.
I'm not surprised by anything anymore. So I chalk this up to kind of like cultural reparations again. Just like you didn't need to do this. The point of Scooby-Doo is to solve mysteries, and it shouldn't be the mystery of what sexual orientation or what gender identity I identify as today. That is any kids show, especially since this is supposed to be a family-oriented sort of thing where adults, and by family I mean adults and kids, can both watch it, and it's not overly juvenile, and it's not tucking down to kids, but it's not tucking down to adult children either at this point. But it also gives you something that's kind of complex that you can kind of solve, and something higher to aspire to, which is finding the truth, saving somebody from trouble, helping other people out. These are all good universal themes in the Scooby-Doo movies, and I just, like I said, I just don't think this was a necessary sort of thing. And if you have to justify these things, I think that's pretty much right there where it says I mean, if your
Well,
justification is for this is that a bunch of lesbians came and protested us, that's really not good either.
yeah.
It's just a bunch of angry children screaming at you. So,
Well, it goes back to a story we talked about a couple of weeks ago, how GLAAD wants there to be 50% LGBTQ representation in all forms of media. So this is helping their numbers on that front. And then every day when we get a new character announced as gay, I start to think, you know what, maybe Elon Musk is right about the fact that we're going to have a population collapse here in the next 10 to 20 years, because it seems like we're going that way. I don't know what to say, but
now I have to wonder with like the fact that they're saying that this protest made this happen. It's like I have to wonder how easily you'd cave if a bunch of people in white sheets and pitchforks showed up at Warner Brothers HQ. Probably fold like a tent.
And I will say this too: it's not even just the fact that, you know, the fans, quote unquote, are complaining that they want this to happen. It's like we've gotten to the point with entertainment where these people, these weirdo fans, have now gotten into the writing room and the directing room where they're making these changes happen, because you hear these stories all the time. And it's like, oh, well, you know, when growing up, I always wanted Velma to be gay. Then they finally gave me the opportunity to do it on whatever new movie is coming out and stuff like that. So it's like the reason why all this stuff is happening is because these people are gaining positions of power in Hollywood to make these changes happen for themselves.
And honestly, it's worth noting that the characterization of these characters was established from the very beginning. The show itself was never meant to explore that in any way. It's these kids with their obvious personalities are solving mysteries and catching bad guys. That's literally what it is. And that's the entire shtick of Scooby-Doo. Why do we have to... The exploration of these characters makes no sense because they're already established from the very beginning. And that was what it was meant to be. And the fact that they're going in and changing things, it just goes to show there is no goodwill to this. They had no respect for the franchise itself. They only seek to change it. And that it just doesn't fly by me. And by doing that, you're basically taking a good thing away from the younger audience of today. But all they seek to do is bastardize what we hold nostalgic to us. That's all they want to do at this point. I'm convinced.
I think it's projection. I'm sorry.
Someone pointed out in one of the Twitter comment sections that subtlety is dead. And that was one thing that Scooby-Doo had with the characters' personalities was subtlety. And that's just not just in Scooby-Doo. That's just in a lot of like shows that we grew up with, and not just even shows, in music as well. Like a lot of the lyrics, the sexual innuendos are gone. And it's just being very straightforward. It's very, very saddening to see that art has gone in this direction now, where it's all just like in your face and doesn't make you think about this kind of stuff. Think about like the mystery anymore, or think about like even stupid things like sexuality of the characters anymore. Because that's why fans had fan theories in the first place.
Yeah, I will say, like, one of the shows I grew up watching that I really liked, probably a lot of people would be surprised at, was Whose Line Is It Anyway? And they had to make up things, like, if you know what I mean. And they had to be really subtle because it was on ABC Family before it became Freeform, and there were a lot of things that didn't get past this, that got past the censors, that if you look at the outtakes, they're a lot, more graphic and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
are we ever going to have?
It was always very clever, very smart.
I was just going to ask: is Elsa still going to get her girlfriend?
It's not
because they've
funny.
been clamoring for that.
No.
They've been clamoring for that.
They will not do that. No way.
That would make the Frozen Ever After ride at Disney World much more fun to close with I guess with their version of the Bros Orgy.
They decided to make her asexual.
Yeah, we're moving on from this topic. I think I've maxed out my LGBTQ representation for the day. Quick little shout out to the people who are watching us on YouTube right now. We got a good crowd on YouTube. If you haven't already, like the stream so that we can spread it out to more people. If you haven't subscribed now. This next topic here is for the boys. So the girls are going to have to sit this one out. except for Johnson, because she may actually be directly
You
implicated.
bigot.
But let's move over to baseball, because apparently there is now calls to get rid of the Atlanta Braves name. So if you've been following this saga now, no sports team is allowed to be named after any Native American group. So they got the Washington Redskins to change their name to the Washington football team. They're now the Washington Commanders, and it's just absolutely stupid. The Cleveland Indians threw away almost 100 years of history so they can turn their name into the Cleveland Guardians. And now that they've got those two scalps, they want to go after the Atlanta Braves now too. So this all started a couple of weeks back, where Biden's press secretary said that it's time that we have a conversation about changing the Atlanta Braves' name. And all the fans here in Atlanta, all in Georgia and the South, are like, fuck that and fuck you. And so, yeah, we have Senator Warnock, who's in a race right now with Herschel Walker, and Stacey Abrams, who's in a race now for governor against Brian Kemp. The people who are running here in Georgia were very, very quiet, suspiciously, about this whole topic, even though it was the Biden administration that brought it up in the first place, because they know that campaigning on changing the Braves' name will be a losing strategy. And I think both of them are kind of behind in the polls right now, so not really a good look for them to say anything about it. But yeah, this is a new push. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution even wrote an article about this, about whether it's time. Now, they already went through the whole process of trying to get rid of the tomahawk chop. And essentially what they did is that they don't play the official music for it anymore, but they still effectively do it at the game. The whole tomahawk chop, the chant, and everything that goes on with it. But they've been going after Atlanta now for the last few years. Remember, I think it was last year, they moved the All-Star game out of Atlanta because Democrats didn't like the voting bill that they passed here, so they moved it to Colorado. The Braves pretty much gave them a major fuck you and turned around and won the World Series that year, and they've won 100 games this season, so they might go back-to-back. But like I said, here we are again. They're trying to erase another team's name. Like I said, that is not going to go well here with people in Atlanta. Rick, you are the baseball person, so I'm just going to get your thoughts first here. What are your thoughts on them trying to erase the Braves' history here?
Well, first, I wonder if you using the term the scalps was intentional or not.
Oh, yeah, it was very intentional.
Oh, okay. Look, I guess because they've already won, they're not going to be satisfied. And I think I've mentioned this to you another time, that they will be targeting. I mean, they already got the Indians to change to Guardians, which is something that only people from Cleveland really understand. Now they're looking at the Braves, and I think I mentioned that they will be going after the Rangers and the Padres because the Rangers because they oppressed Mexicans like me, and the Padres because they subjugated the Native Americans. So they will not be satisfied. And these are the same people who more than likely don't even watch baseball, or football, or any sports.
Well, not only that, just real quick on a bigger scale, they're going to go after the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to have to change their name next too. They've been talking about going after Florida State for so many years.
They're not going to get them.
Get rid of. Like I said, they're falling the dominoes right now. So,
well, last time I
checked, Chicago hockey team.
Well, last time I checked with the
yes.
Well, the last time I checked with the Seminoles themselves, the actual tribe, they are not having that. They will not allow that name change to happen. The Seminoles stand by Florida State. They're not going to allow that shit to happen, period.
Yeah, and I mean here in El Paso, one of our high schools, they are the Isleta Indians, but they are on tribal. They are connected to the Tiwa Nation, so they've already said, as far as I know, that they're not going to change the name. They're fine with it. They think that they're doing a good thing. The people who are generally upset about this, they think that they're doing a good thing because they think that they're correcting a wrong. It's a reckoning. We have had about 2 years of reckonings with everything, with every name change. They want to change the name of forts. They want to change the name of I guess cities. I'm surprised they haven't asked for it to change the name of Washington State into, like, I don't know, something else at this point.
Give them time.
Could be, but it's from my view, it's performative. I mean, it makes them feel better about themselves because now they'll say that, oh, you see, we forced the Atlanta, and I remember how they're called. You know, they were back, I think, with the Redskins, that they didn't that the announcers or the commentators didn't even want to say Redskins. They always called them the Washington Football Team because it was so upsetting. I don't think it's going to improve the lot of Native Americans if you change the name to the Braves. And if you think about it, they're named the Braves because they want to focus on the positive aspects, that warrior mentality, that they're going to keep fighting. Yes, the Native Americans have gotten a poor deal. I know, Trail of Tears. It's not something that we should take great pride in, but at the same time, changing the name is not going to do anything except make these people who are never going to go to a Braves game feel better about themselves and say, I have done something to make the world a better place. No, you haven't. The only thing you've done is you're almost unintentionally erasing any mentions of Native Americans. But again, as I've said before,
these people that demand these changes are bigots, because look what they're doing. They're erasing non-white people everywhere they possibly can. Have you guys seen the meme where they have like Uncle Ben and the Quaker Oats dude,
and Jemima, the Land O'Lakes girl,
and the only one that's still there is the white Quaker Oats dude. So I think these people are honestly racist. I don't think that they like people that aren't white, because they want to erase them culturally in every way possible. So I argue that they're a bunch of bigots.
Well,
hey, guess who won the division tonight? The Atlanta Braves. Suck it.
I know the Mets fans are so pissed because the Mets were winning the division for the longest time, and then the Braves beat them. And my poor dad's a Mets fan, so he's like totally pissed.
Well, I've been a Braves fan since '96, and I've kind of fallen off Major League Baseball. I haven't watched it in the last 10 years really, but it's great to see that the city's behind them, and that like they don't want to change the name. They shouldn't. And even if you want to look at it this way, it's a positive connotation. You could argue that the Washington Redskins on some level is offensive. I personally think they should have kept it anyway, because there's a history with that team, and like that city loves that team. I mean, they had this great run in the 80s, so there's all this history associated with that. I'm kind of always against that, but I think there are different circumstances too.
They should have renamed them the Washington Engines. That's what I always said.
Okay, here's the thing I have with these activists, because I take it kind of personally, because my late boyfriend was a card carrying Cherokee Nation, and before he passed away, we were working on a Native American nonprofit where we were helping underprivileged Native American kids on tribal lands. So like I've gotten to go on tribal lands and see how Native Americans live. These people have never done that, and they don't know what it's like for Native Americans, who are still like probably the most oppressed people in the US out of any minority. And so when I see these people do all this crap, I'm just like, really? You're doing this crap when you've never seen how these people are living? When have you asked them how they felt about this? No, you're just doing this for your own self-satisfaction.
Well, I think was it the Daily Show with Jon Stewart did a skit like that, where they actually got Redskins fans, and then they brought in Native Americans to kind of scold them about how awful they were. I don't know. I mean, I would have to ask every Native person, but I think there are probably some Natives who were actually delighted whenever the Redskins beat the Cowboys, because it was kind of a metaphorical win. And answering one of the comments, yes, there was a move to change that to change the Tomahawk missiles, because that was offensive. I'm thinking, no, that's actually, we want the Tomahawks on our side to destroy the enemy. So I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, they've already changed the names of locations and mountains because it's offensive to have had. Since I'm so ancient, I still call it Mount McKinley instead of Mount Denali, because that's just the way I grew up. But if it makes them feel better about themselves, they think this is a good thing. But Atlanta is different than Cleveland, I guess, in terms of the baseball association, because they actually have a winning team. So maybe that's why they don't.
Not only that, but you have to remember, like, when it comes to the Atlanta Braves, like, the Atlanta is really the only baseball team here in the entire South. Like, there's not a team in New Orleans, there's not a team in Nashville or a lot of these other places. So pretty much the entire South are Braves fans.
There's a AAA, I think, in Nashville and Memphis. If that
Does Florida not
counts.
count?
They don't count.
Florida's
No.
its own world.
Have you
Tampa
seen the
Rays.
Marlins? Have you seen the Marlins attendance? No, they don't count.
Terrible.
I will say, like, from like being so, like, I moved from the north to the south for college, and I have been on both sides of this conversation with regards to southern, like, other southern things. Like, one of my first experiences down here was going to Stone Mountain, and they have this really fun light show that they do every year and stuff, but it's filled with references to the Confederacy. And I, like, the first year I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, how did this get approved? Should I go and talk to the manager?
Karen.
But I've been down here now for like 10 years, and I actually recently saw it in 2020. That's when I found out that they were using paper straws over there, and I was like, okay, that's it. I'm not voting
It's so
for blue.
disgusting. It is so. Honestly, I used a paper straw once to drink orange juice, and I wanted to vomit. It's so gross.
I had to use it at the Padres game, actually.
Yes. So I was like, okay, that's it. All right, Trump 2020. I give up. But like, but it was
The straw that broke the camel's back.
Yes, it was literally a paper straw.
Literally.
So I didn't vote in 2016, and after that, I was like, oh crap.
Me too.
So, but like, I've been here, and we went to go see it, and it's really nice. And you kind of have to realize that a lot of the Black people here are descendants of the Confederate soldiers, and a lot of them are descendants of people that were given freedom for fighting, and then the Union actually adopted the Confederacy into the Union as a whole officially. And so they're technically part of American history. And knowing kind of like, I think honestly, a lot of the activists are like, I just feel this is the right thing to do, but we don't actually know anything about the history. We don't want to learn about the history either, because that takes work. It's just easier to be, here's a target, go after it, go win, be a winner. And I think a part of that is because it's a very immature sort of thing. I think I've mentioned it multiple times. I mean, people don't grow up anymore. So this is a very simple thing that they can do to make the world a better place. They can feel superior for doing so. And they they can do this instead of doing something that's actually hard to do, like
create something.
Here's a question.
Hold down a
I'm sorry.
job and finish things. So.
Okay. Well, here's my question. All the people that clamored and got their way to change the name of the Redskins and the Indians, did they become season seat holders? Do they attend games? No. Do they buy the merchandise?
No.
So
they don't have money to do that.
So
yeah.
What did you win? I mean, you got the name changed, and now what?
It's just on to the next target.
Now we're the Braves. Then they'll be the Chiefs.
It's like that meme about like consume product, get excited about consuming next product.
Next product, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like, oh, target demolished, prepare to attack next target on some level. Oh.
I have promised my Democratic Socialist friend that when I go to Atlanta to see the Braves with my bestie, I will not only do the tomahawk chop, I will videotape myself and send it to her so that she could. And I might even go visit the Margaret Mitchell house, kind of to throw that in there.
It's a very nice house. So
these people, honestly, just call it what it is. These people are a bunch of fucking losers that are desperately in need of validation. That's the only thing that they do this shit for. They don't really care about anything. All they give a shit is about themselves. They just want to feel like they're a part of something. And it's like, go make something. Go do something good. Go to a soup kitchen and hand out food. Like, that's more helpful than any of the bullshit that you're bringing up now. Like, this whole social justice thing is literally just this cheap ass fucking couch potato bullshit way to make yourself feel like you're important. And
It's
bullshit.
It's sports for people who don't like sports. It's literally a tribalistic attack on a tribalistic thing. You know what I mean? Like, sports is very tribalistic. You know, my team against your team, rah rah, I'm gonna win. You know, but that's all social justice is. It's sports for people who hate sports.
And the worst part is they're attacking actual Native Americans, especially in the case of like the Seminoles. You're attacking Native Americans because they like having the actual team.
Yeah, I think people have a right to defend their heritage. You know.
So we'll be doing this here in the next couple of weeks. I'm pretty sure that certain people are gonna be very infuriated.
I will say personally, I'm not much of a sports fan, and I think it's hilarious too that it's Truist's Park and they call it TP. So.
Hank Aaron is so proud. Look at Hank Aaron is so proud right now. He's looking down on the Braves. He's so proud.
I am sure that crowd is made up of white and black and Hispanic and Asian.
Oh yeah,
it's a whole community. And so as a Hispanic person, I'm going to be participating in something that is akin to like being the captain at a concentration camp to these people.
Yeah, like I said, I was just there. I was just there last Saturday. There was black Braves fans, white Braves fans, Hispanic Braves fans, Asian Braves. Like, literally, the whole squad is there. They're all doing the shop. So,
well, I will say too, is to kind of tag on. I don't go to sports, but the last 4th of July celebration that we had down in my town's main square, there are people of every color, of every shade. There are gay people and straight people, and I mean, it's just they all broke out and started singing the national anthem when the music played and the fireworks began. I mean, like, that was a beautiful moment, you know.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh.
No, I was just wondering if like there was a gay black Braves fan who did a tomahawk chop. Would that fan be like a bigot for doing that and be oppressing people?
Well, a lot of people want simple answers, is what I've discovered. They want to feel good. They want to do right. They want to have power. They want to ensure that they're keeping their domain happy. And I just don't think that like a walking supposed contradiction like that would just confound them. I think you would explode a few SJWs instead. So
yeah.
Watching that, honestly, if someone watches that video and they see hatred for Native Americans in that, I think they're honestly some of the biggest fucking loser human beings on earth. Like, you're literally just the asshole that sees like this awesome time, and then you just want to walk in and ruin it for everyone.
No.
It's like, you're a fucking loser.
Their argument is you're ridiculing their culture. You're ridiculing Native culture by doing that. That's their argument.
First of all, there is no their culture. These people are like white social justice warriors. They have no stake in this whatsoever.
The vast majority
always. And then real quick, before we move on to our next topic, I did want to get Pete and Lawrence. I'm not sure if you guys are baseball fans or anything like that, but I did want to give you guys a chance to comment on this.
I feel like I'm back in elementary school and they covered the topic I did in my homework on. I'm just like, I know nothing about this.
Okay,
the amount of stuff I know about sports could probably fit a shoebox. It's just never, I didn't grow up with family where they cared about sports much. And that was never really something interested in. So it's not something I know about. What I do know about is I live here in South Dakota. When I served my mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I served it here in South Dakota. I lived with Lakota Sioux. That was a huge focus of our time. Getting to know those people, and they're a big part of my community. I love them. One of the frustrations they do have is that it's so hard to get attention to things that matter. Especially outside of the community. Inside the community sometimes too, but that's a whole nother conversation. And all the oxygen in the media, all the oxygen in the room goes to stupid stuff like this. And it does absolutely nothing to help them in their actual issues from their day to day. And if you spend time, and some reservations are, especially out here in South Dakota, like Pine Ridge or Rosebud, are quite bad. The poverty is something you'd find in Haiti. It's horrible. And they have very real problems, and they need very real support. And all the energy gets wasted on really stupid crap. And there is sometimes this feeling for them that like someone focuses on renaming these teams, or we're going to rename out here in South Dakota when Obama was president. I'm not going to make this political, but he was renaming landmarks. This is something he liked to do, and he would rename them for whatever native group in the area claimed them. And that happened, and he left. And you know what it did? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It improved no one's lives, no one's issues, the poverty, the family abuse, their inability to get jobs or receive benefits, all the hard issues that they get was wasted on this crap. And look, I get it. It's important to some people, and people like sports. And I mean, we were just talking about Velma and Scooby-Doo. Those are cool. I enjoy that. But like, no one is going to pretend that like fighting over Scooby-Doo is going to change someone's the necessities and the really hard things they do day to day. But we do pretend that when it comes to these stupid stories. And that is frustrating. I don't really know. I don't know really how to change that. I'm sorry to make it so serious, probably because I don't know anything about sports.
No, it's okay. It's good to do that. And I will say, I agree with you. Real issues get kind of sideswept a lot.
Where he's coming from, because I've been on reservations. The ones in California that I went to are not as bad as the ones in South Dakota, but like I totally understand. The poverty is really bad.
Well, let's let Orange Hat wrap this one up, because he's wanted to say something here.
Well, I got way too much to say, but all I will say about the whole renaming the Atlanta Braves, send the comment. Also, I've been to a few, reservations. Some of them are actually quite nice. They actually do quite a lot of nice things. They're very nice to some outsiders. Onondaga. The Onondaga County Res, don't call it a res, and don't ever put the word reservation on any of your vehicles like they used to do at football outing or football games for your high school, because you'll get shot at if you do that. As for the Atlanta Braves, they're a good team. My grandfather was a fan before he passed and whatnot. But if you guys really want to erase Native American culture, ask the Native Americans first whether or not they want it erased. Look at the Land O'Lakes. They wanted to get rid of the Native American woman on the Land O'Lakes thing. Well, here's something that you didn't know. It was designed by a Native American woman. So you not only erased Native American heritage from the Land O'Lakes, but you took something away from the Native Americans by erasing their contribution to society. As for the Braves, well, if you want to get rid of that, at first, ask the natives down there, do you guys feel offended by this? And then if anybody had any sort of common sense and they said, yes, we are offended, and if it was just a small amount of people, not the overwhelming majority, well, I would say, okay, we will take it into advisement. Your amount of outrage is not enough to yield an effective result. We do not cater to the minority number-wise. So if you're upset, too bad. People need to stop focusing on being offended by every little damn thing, because the more you get offended, the more you're going to have heart attacks, and the more you're going to keel over before you can even breathe. So the way I see it, if you really want to get offended and give yourself that much stress, well, that's just a form of population control. Send the comment. Oh, and by the way,
population control might be a good thing.
Indeed. And if that offends you, everybody who has headphones on, you might want to take them off for a second. I know something that would really offend you. There. Too bad.
Well,
Oh,
we're gonna change. We're gonna also change. I'm surprised they haven't changed the names of vehicles. So they have like they have the Tiguans and
the Tahoe and
the
Pintos
Cherokees. We're gonna be changing those vehicles' names too.
You guys never play Cowboys and Indians?
Rob. Yeah, we used to play them on Thanksgiving Day, and then somehow, thanks to COVID, we're now sitting at home with masks on watching the Cowboys versus the Washington football team on Thanksgiving Day. So that's just how far
Commanders.
we've fallen. Like I said, I still don't even acknowledge the Indians as, was it the Guardians now? Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous at this point.
No, when I saw that, it shocked me. I was like, oh, they really did it, didn't they? Oh, man, that's awful. You know, because, like, Major League. What Major League is a great movie, right? The Cleveland Indians and, like, breaking the curse and whatever. It sucks. I hate everyone.
And what was funny is that, just to kind of, I know you want to wrap it up, just funny that when they changed the name to the Guardians, they actually thought it was for the Marvel movie.
Yes, people are just dumb, and this next story is a good topic on that one. How many of you guys here are hip hop fans or rap fans? Raise your hands and don't raise them all.
Oh gosh.
We're so on the classic end.
Classic
Old
hip hop,
school.
yes.
Well, you guys,
or
you
not.
guys are going to absolutely love this story because, well, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has now made it illegal for rappers to snitch on themselves in the state of California. Now you're asking yourself, what the hell does this mean? Gavin Newsom has signed a law to limit the use of rap lyrics as evidence in a criminal trial. Now, this is something that actually started in the state of New York earlier this year because we don't know who the rappers Jay-Z and Meek Mill are. There are two rappers who have been advocating for rap lyrics to not be used as evidence in the court of law because, well, rappers just can't stop snitching on themselves in their own music.
They've been able to do it for years.
This started a few years ago with the rapper Bobby Shmurda, who released a popular song, and then they used he basically committed to doing a crime in his own lyrics, and then ended up getting served, I think it was like 6 or 8 years in prison as a result of this. Another very popular rapper at the time was a rapper named A.R. Ab, who went around multiple different interviews and outlets talking about all the drugs that he runs and how he's affiliated with the local gangs in his neighborhood. And, well, let's just say a couple of years ago, he was found guilty of several counts of crack cocaine distribution, heroin distribution, meth distribution, and he was sentenced to 45 years in prison. There's been instances of other rappers who have used their songs to brag about assaults, murders, stabbings, such and such, and they use the evidence of their own songs to solve cold cases, things of that nature. So rappers are basically just bragging about the fact that they're committing these crimes in these rap songs, and most of them are so dumb that they end up having those songs being used against them in the court of law. Well, now guys like Jay-Z and Meek Mill and all these other rappers are trying to rally states to make it illegal to use rap lyrics in the court of law because they don't want rappers who are committing these crimes to go to jail for the stuff that they admitted to. So there's also a big case here in Atlanta of a rapper, I think it's Young Thug and Gunna, who both of those guys are currently up on RICO charges because they've been involved with a local street gang here in Atlanta that's been accused of murder, gun trafficking, drug trafficking, things of that nature. And of course, they brag about their affiliation with this group in their rap songs. So that's another instance where people are trying to talk about, oh, they're unfairly being judged by their rap lyrics. This should be freedom of speech. It's like, you can't admit to killing someone in a rap song they call freedom of speech. That's not how it works. But Gavin Newsom has signed a law called AB 2799, which is the first nation which limits the use of using rap lyrics in the court of law as quote unquote creative expression to protect against racial bias. So the bill, so here it says Newsom signed the bill alongside with rappers, record producers, and record industry executives in the first to ensure someone's creative expression is not used to induce stereotypes or active biases against the defendant to be used in the court of law. This also requires the courts to determine if rap lyrics are admissible as evidence, whether to be linked to an alleged crime. They just mentioned the whole story in Atlanta about Young Thug and Gunner, who are also up on multiple charges in the state of Atlanta. They said while the legislation does not completely exclude rap lyrics, it creates a very high bar for rap lyrics to be used as an admission of crime. So you really have to just straight up admit to murder on one of these songs in order for something like this to be used against you in the court of law. In the state of California, I think New York is going to follow up on this. Pretty sure Illinois is going to follow up on this pretty soon as well. So this has become a thing because so many rappers are just such idiots. They for some reason they just can't do a song without talking about who they've killed, what gangs they run with, what drugs they run with, and all kinds of stuff. They just can't make a song about that. So now we're literally passing laws. The state is passing laws to protect these rappers from themselves. So I'll start with Rob on this one. What the hell is going on here?
Well, look. What's funny to me about all of this is that I had zero relationship with hip hop or rap up until a couple years ago. I moved in with this chick who was renting out her house. She kind of temporarily got me into what's called trap rap, which is just like drug dealing music, you know. Yeah. And I learned that a lot of these rappers they indict themselves through their song lyrics. This guy, what is it, YNW Melly, who's on a murder trial right now. Basically, it's alleged that him and his buddy murdered his friend. You know, and there are all these examples of people tripping themselves up. Like, what was that guy who snitched on all those people? I'm trying to think of the one guy's name. 6ix9ine, yeah, Tekashi 6ix9ine. And so it's it's very amusing to me that I was wait, this is real? These idiots didn't learn anything from the mafia. That the flashier you are, the more shit you talk, the bigger target gets painted on your back. The original mobsters that came over from Italy, they understood. You don't show the public anything, you know. And so I marvel at the fact that these are actual criminals, that they do it for the street cred or whatever. That blows my mind. Yeah.
This is so dumb. Gavin Newsom is just doing this to save his ass because he knows that he is in deep shit because of the gas prices up here in Cali. If my state is smart enough, they're going to vote his ass out. They should have voted his ass out during recall. But, of course, outsiders came in and interfered. That was the problem. But that's a whole different story, unfortunately. But what happened to rap and hip-hop? Rap and hip-hop used to be really creative, especially when it came to thug rap and hip-hop. You had beefs and all that, but they were creative and they didn't confess their shit like this. That's what I meant by subtlety being dead.
Well, I would argue, Nerdigans, that you know that Gavin Newsom is going to replace Uncle Joe in case he decides to, be completely senile versus what he is right now. Secondly, does this mean that we're never going to know who shot Biggie? Because he kept saying, who shot you, and now we don't know. We'll never know.
Oh my God, you boomer.
Yeah, this is how hip-hop I am, all right? I would just wonder, besides the rather oddball idea that all of these rappers enjoy bragging about the crimes that they commit in their music, and now that they can basically confess to being serial killers and the law can't touch them. Gavin, isn't California having a hard time keeping its lights on? Is this really what they should be spending their time on? Legislating rap lyrics?
A couple of things here. One, I want to put you over for making a Mama Cass and Biggie Smalls reference on the same show. I think that takes a lot of skill to do that. Second of all, yeah, not only that, but California is actively having a crime wave, especially in the city of Los Angeles at the moment. And here you are passing a law making it harder for essentially known criminals to go to jail for the crimes that they committed. Some will say that's probably not the smartest thing to do in this situation. Orange Hat, I want to just talk to you here for a second because, like I said, I think the Bobby Smurder thing in the state of New York was a big story, and we have a couple of Northeast rappers that are really pushing this, and it's starting to go across the country now. What is just your thoughts on rappers trying to make it harder for the law system to work the way that it's supposed to, essentially?
Well, as a person whose family has some ties to law enforcement, I think that Gavin Newsom is a traitor to any sort of law enforcement at all. I'm sorry for anybody who lives in California. You're living in a failed state. Your government has completely gone anti-constitution, and if they really want to pursue this, that is their prerogative. However, I would encourage all of their citizens to look up a certain constitution known as the federal constitution. If I believe there is something in there that states no law can be passed if it is in direct violation to the rights of the people. One, you cannot protect a person if they are they have to protect themselves from self-incrimination. It is not the government's job to do so. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that law is already unconstitutional. The state can be sued by the people if they choose to do so. As for other states like my state of New York doing this, well, we do have an interim governor who, well, she's very anti-law as well. So I wouldn't put it past her to do so.
Governor, by the way.
Yeah, she's interim. She's appointed. She's a tyrant as well. She's basically, I'm willing to bet that if she ever went to California, her and Gavin Newsom would be caught in bed together. But I just think that this is the dumbest thing that they could possibly do. I mean, you're getting people off. One, you're getting people off the streets by letting them incriminate themselves. Yeah. What's wrong with getting crime and criminals off the streets? Two, if they're dumb enough to do this, they deserve to go to jail. I mean,
well, I can say something about my state. My state's district attorneys are probably going to sue, because the district attorneys outside of well, I can't say San Francisco now because they got a new district attorney. Probably outside of Oakland and maybe Los Angeles is a lost cause. My city's district attorney is kick ass. She's probably going to lead the charge in a lawsuit against this. They're not going to tolerate this.
Well, good. I hope they do, or I hope she does, because honestly, this is something that is only making it very much harder for the people themselves to live in these areas. If you are going soft on crime, expect crime to rise, expect people to, well, not feel safe in their own communities. I mean, I do remember a video of a woman during an interview saying, I don't think it was California though, but basically my yard has become a public toilet. This is what like I said, when I say that California is a failed state, I am not saying that because of the people. I am saying that because of the politicians. Now, yes, the people elected the politicians, but hopefully you are now going to take all of this negative that has happened in your state and you're going to try to do the right thing, which is get these idiots out of your offices because they are not following protocol. I mean, I could go all day about a certain former, I believe, district attorney from California, who sadly is the number 2 person in the White House right now. But that's time gone by.
She's gotten her own shit. The housing association has business with her. They sued her because
well, the thing is,
so yeah.
let's just say that there's no statute of limitation on attempted murder in the state of California. I actually looked that up. And she's actually, there's a good case to be fought that she's actually guilty of that. As for these rappers and Gavin Newsom, this dude also freaking made it harder to prosecute pedophiles in that state. Yeah. Which makes me wonder, Gavin, why are you making laws, or why are you making your state so soft on crime? Is it because you yourself is a criminal?
Yeah.
Oh no,
Makes you wonder, folks.
The easy answer is Hollywood, and all the lobbyists in it is Hollywood. So if you want to know
it's
why
not just
California,
Gavin has done some really sus things. He and the people in Sacramento, they have done some sus things. They especially those in Sacramento who have done let's say they've been very gropey to women up in there, and and they have not gotten booted, which is kind of surprising considering it's very well known.
Didn't Kamala Harris come from California?
Yes,
sleeping her way around,
starting out on her knees, her criminal career on her knees, and getting up into the White House.
Well, let me wrap this up with Cassie because she's in New York, so this is pretty much her fault anyway. We talked about this earlier about how, you know, a lot of these rappers, I mentioned this to a couple of you guys, is that it seems like there's a rapper being shot and killed like almost every 2 weeks now. Like when Biggie and Tupac were killed like back in the 90s, it was a big story because that didn't happen in the music industry, but especially with rap. A lot of these guys are just getting gunned down week after week, and it's because hip-hop essentially become infiltrated with legitimate criminals. These are guys that are in gangs. These are guys that have gang affiliation. They're running drugs. They're fighting with, you know, local cartels and things of that nature, and they're getting into the hip-hop game. Instead of addressing the clear criminal issue in the world of hip-hop, they're trying to make it hard for essentially the law, police officers, lawyers, prosecutors to do their job by essentially protecting the criminals. That's what they're doing here. They're protecting the criminals, who are the rappers in these cases, from going to jail from the stuff that they've done and the stuff that they create, that they committed. Like I said, this is not a First Amendment issue. You can't go around saying that I run drugs and I shoot people and I kicked the bitch who was pregnant down the flight of stairs last week in your rap song and say that's freedom of speech. That's not how the law works. But here we are, and then we're just getting dumber and dumber as time goes on. So, Cassie, what is your thoughts on this? And then we'll wrap it up and go to our closer here.
So there's many angles to discuss this. First off, I think New York and California are proof enough that democracy was clearly a fucking mistake. When it comes to these states, it's being a criminal is like you have the most rights, it feels like. That's literally what it is. And in order for a person that does not seek to become a criminal to take it upon themselves to defend yourself, you yourself have to become a criminal with how difficult it is to purchase and legally own firearms in these states. And it's like, if that's the case, you know, why are these states so soft on crime? And to be honest with you, I'm against the police. I just wish that they would allow actual citizens to take it upon themselves to be able to adequately defend themselves in these situations. It's sad that my friend who lives in Newark, New Jersey, unfortunately has to deal with the reality that drug dealers stash their guns and their drugs on top of his fucking roof of his daughter's bedroom. And the only way he can acquire a gun is by doing it illegally, which he doesn't want to do. But it's sad that he has to live with that reality, you stupid fucking liberal states. But when it comes down to like, just like this stuff in regards to just the rappers snitching on themselves, like for me personally, being libertarian, I think that all drugs should be decriminalized, not legalized, decriminalized. There's clearly a difference. But I can't ignore the reality that dealing drugs leads to murder. And that I'm completely and totally against. So, you know, I'm concerned that, you know, admitting to a murder in one of these songs, you know, is going to be withheld. And that could be a crucial piece of evidence for convicting someone of murder. That's truly, truly concerning to me. And justice is supposed to be blind, but we are constantly seeing many, there's so many countless examples of justice being weaponized politically. And this needs to be addressed because justice is not blind. It's purely political in 2022 in America.
Yep. Especially when they keep on giving her eye surgery to fix the blindness when that she didn't ask for it. Yeah, one of the things that is also kind of unsaid, yes, there's they like to talk about murders, but another thing that rap has pretty much fetishized and made another big thing about this, especially the hard rappers and whatnot, is rape and sexual assault. I mean, when you have people singing about how they're going to drop a Molly in a woman's drink or something like that so that they can rape them, and then you got idiots saying, "Baby, It's Cold Outside" is a freaking rape song. It's like, shut the fuck up. And if you're going to ban "Baby, It's Cold Outside," you better ban 75% of rap. Because I'm sorry to say, they ain't no saints.
Oh, well, you don't know the you don't I don't know, Orange Hat, if you've heard the reworked version that's less rapey of "Baby It's
I
Cold
don't
Outside."
care about the new version of it, "Baby, It's Cold Outside." I'll play the original one on the radio all the time.
Yeah, they did a reworked two kids did a reworked version where they decided to make it less
Yeah,
rapey.
John Legend and somebody else, I think it was.
Inferior version.
There wasn't some
inferior.
Yeah.
These kids that we've never heard of, but I mean, in a sense, there's a positive to all this. I was thinking that now Snoop Dogg can sing "Murder in the First" and he'll be fine. He's never going to be convicted. But
I hate Snoop Dogg. I really do.
It's kind of sad that the laws have to be written to protect people from their own stupidity. Yeah.
Because that's government overreach if you think about it. Because it's like, we're going to protect you from yourself. We didn't ask.
Because you're so stupid that you can't just do a rap song without admitting to various illegal activities. So now we have to pass laws to protect you from yourself. Because you don't have the IQ to be trusted when it comes to situations like this. So, here you go. So don't go to California to go be a rapper or something like that, because you might get killed, and then they'll make a song about it. Then they can't use that song in court. So that's very good. I wonder how that's going to affect federal cases. I'm pretty sure it's going to have no standing in like federal RICO cases like what's going on in Atlanta. So good luck with that one. That's all I have to say. And then let's go ahead and move on here to our closer. This is the one that I'm pretty sure Rob's been looking forward to all night, because he wasn't very aware about the controversy about the Netflix film Blonde, which is a movie that we reviewed last night, myself, Rob, and Rick. And there was a little, I guess you could say, controversy about the film, because there was a lot of negative reaction to it, and most of it had to do with the portrayal of Marilyn Monroe in the film, who, if you remember, had multiple instances where she lost her baby, sometimes during the fourth abortion, other times during acts of trauma. But in the eyes of pro-abortion people, the pro-choice people, including Planned Parenthood, they thought that the film was stigmatizing abortion. And then by that logic, they called it a pro-life film, which led to negative reviews of the movie.
Really? Oh
yeah.
My God. That's funny.
So people were actually accusing this film of being pro-life because Marilyn Monroe had an abortion that she didn't want to have, and the fact that she lost her baby led to a complete downward spiral of her life. So because she got an abortion, she wasn't shouting it and proud of it. They're like, "Oh no, this is problematic," quote unquote. So Netflix's Marilyn Monroe movie, which me and Rob gave a good review to. I think Rick was kind of lukewarm on it. This time from Planned Parenthood for stigmatizing people's healthcare decisions. And that is in quotation marks, with the portrayal of the unborn baby upset the prospect of being killed in the womb. Andrew Dominic's Marilyn Monroe biopic is on Netflix right now, so if you want to see it, go watch it there. It is a little bit long. It's about 2 hours, 45 minutes, but I think it's pretty solid. Debuted on the streaming service at the end of September here, but the Hollywood star's anguish over 2 illegal abortions, which were reportedly forced upon her against her will in the film, led to a downward spiral of Marilyn Monroe's life, and depicted her having conversations with the dead fetuses. In one scene, she even straight up asked herself, when I think she got an award of recognition for one of the movies she was in. She was like, "I killed my baby for this," clearly showing regret that she actually had the abortion that she didn't want to get. But Planned Parenthood was not entertained by this. And they, who's this woman? Karen Spouch, who is the founder of the American Directors of Arts and Entertainment for Planned Parenthood, blasted the film by saying that as film and TV shapes many people's understandings of sexual and reproductive health, it is critical that these depictions are actively portrayed women's real decisions and experiences. Well, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people who have gotten an abortion and regretted it. So if you're trying to argue that this isn't a real depiction of how women feel after abortion, maybe you're the one who's lying here. It says, while abortion is safe, essential health care, anti-abortion zealots have long contributed to the abortion stigma by using medically inaccurate depictions of fetuses and pregnancies. Andrew Dominik's new film, by the way, Andrew Dominik is from New Zealand. I just want to throw that one out there too. Bolsters the message that a CGI talking fetus depicted to look like a fully deformed baby. Okay, yeah, so you're literally complaining about the artistic depiction of the baby in the film. Is that what you're doing? Because that's not realistic. Oh, are you telling me that fetuses can't really talk to women in the womb? That's a shocker. Planned Parenthood respects artistic license and freedom. No, you don't. However, false images only serve to reinforce misinformation and perpetuate the stigma around sexual and reproductive health care. Every pregnancy outcome, especially abortion, should be portrayed sensitively, authentically, and accurately in the media.
I'm sorry.
So why don't they actually show what happens when an abortion takes place? I think if more people actually knew, if they actually knew what happens, it wouldn't be very likable. Let's just put it that way.
They did that in a movie called Unplanned.
Oh yeah, Unplanned.
Well, that was still the PG-13 version of it, and you can actually go to abortionprocedures.com and they'll show you an animated.
Yeah.
So.
Let me finish this real quick. It says, we still have much work to ensure that everyone who has an abortion can see themselves on screen. It is a shame that the creators of Blonde chose to contribute to anti-abortion propaganda and stigmatize people's healthcare decisions instead. So the director, Dominik, actually pushed back about this. He said that people are obviously concerned with the loss of freedom, referring to Roe versus Wade being overturned. They said, but I mean, no one would have given a shit if I had made that movie in 2008. So probably no one's going to care about it for 4 years' time, and the movie won't change. It's just sort of what's going on. The attack on Planned Parenthood is the latest complaint about Blonde. First comments echoes by other feminists who are angered by the portrayal of Moreau's abortions of the film. I think there's one reviewer here said that Blonde is a horrific, tone-deaf reminder of why the female perspective should be included or at least asked for when writing about abortion. So they're actually trying to attack. The writer and director of the film for this movie because he's a dude.
It was written by a fucking woman. It was written by Joyce.
The novel, the novel was written by a woman.
Carol Oates. Yeah. My God.
Yeah.
No, this is tone deaf. What is written here is incredibly tone deaf.
That woman is earning her. That woman is definitely earning her PR bucks. Like she's doing what she was paid to do. That's why she gets the big bucks for doing it. You just say whatever you have to say. We don't care actually how truthful it may or may not be.
Are you really asking for representation? Was that one of the things that she was going on about? That we need to see people with abortions properly represented. Are we asking for abortion?
Only if they're
properly represented woman that had an abortion, though, because there are women that feel like that after they have an abortion. Right. They are. That's why I'm really pissed that this bitch said this. It's like, dude, women not everyone feels the same. Not everyone's proud of having an abortion. Some people just have to have it, unfortunately. Some people are forced to have it. Some people...
I know more than one person that has had an abortion, and they both years later showed deep regret. It is one of their, if not their greatest regrets throughout their entire life. And it's more than one person I know in my personal life. And I think it's just, look, to a very certain extent, I am pro-choice. That is, to a very early part of the stage of life. But no matter what you say, abortion is an act of murder. It's sad that it has to happen. I totally discuss the fact that the only way this is going to change is not by law, because law does not dictate morality. It has to be changed through education, through valuing human life. We're at a point in human history where we have devalued human life more than ever before. And it's absolutely disgusting. But the fact that they actually come out against this movie when it's like, and Rob brought up like the point. Pro-choice means pro-choice, not pro-murder. If a woman wanted to keep the baby and they were forced to have a fucking abortion, why aren't you defending her? Like, how fucking stupid do you it just go like, it's like they just tell on themselves. Clearly you just love to murder unborn babies. That's clearly what it is. At least be fucking honest about it at this point, because it's not pro-choice, it's pro-murder. You know, and it's ridiculous that we're gonna actually they actually bring this bullshit out here. They're so protective of murdering children. It's like, for the same reason that I think I would love Planned Parenthood to die is the same reason why I hate the ASPCA, because they put down animals. They are like some of the biggest murderers of animals. And it's not even, and I can promote killing animals so that their bodies will be used, you know, accordingly. Like if you kill a deer and you use all the parts of the deer and you eat the deer, it provides food for you. I'm completely in support of doing that. I don't want to see murdering of animals go to waste. But like the fact that they're actually sitting here saying this bullshit, like, fuck Planned Parenthood. I just hate
I don't like Planned Parenthood either. That's why, like, because I've been through Planned Parenthood and I've been through like a women's clinic. There's a huge difference. Like a women's clinic, they will actually educate you. They will give you all the options available. I've learned more from going to, like, because I went to UCSF's women's clinic, and they will tell you like everything that you need to know. Planned Parenthood, you do not learn shit there. It's depressing sitting there in Planned Parenthood, because I've been through this twice. So that's why I kind of relate to this whole thing. So I understand this. I understand what this whole thing. But like, the thing is though, how Planned Parenthood is saying this is really disgusting. It doesn't surprise me. I support women's clinics. I support reproduction clinics and all that, but I don't support Planned Parenthood. They're pieces of shit. They don't give a fuck. They don't want to.
I'm sorry. I've seen both the Netflix movie, and I saw the TV miniseries that the novel was based on. They both have that same moment where she says, she gets I think it's at a premiere, and she's being celebrated, and she says, "For this I killed my baby." So I'm assuming that's from the novel. This is the fictional Marilyn Monroe's perspective. It is not Planned Parenthood's perspective as to the rightness or the wrongness. And Dominic is right when he says that when the miniseries, I think, premiered in 2001, nobody cared. Nobody was saying that this was a pro-life miniseries or anything like that. They weren't making a big issue about it. Now it is, because Roe versus Wade was overturned. I guess that's the reason that they're saying this. But nobody was making an issue back in 2001 when the miniseries came out. But I mean, again, they refuse to even acknowledge that this is the fictional Marilyn Monroe's perspective about her wanting to be a mother and her losing the baby, once to a forced abortion and once through a miscarriage, at least. So they think this is propaganda. This is nowhere near propaganda. This is an absurdity for them to even think this. And I reject everything that they have said, because it's so unreal. It's not based on the novel, from what I saw from the miniseries and the movie. It's her perspective. And surprisingly enough, women are not all in lockstep about abortion.
Yeah, and that whole article is projection. It's pure projection, because it's like what you have in Blonde is this profile of a woman that was deeply manipulated. She was deeply damaged and hurt, and she found value in the fact that she was pregnant. And then all of a sudden she's put in this room against her will. And it's like it's because it's a profile of somebody wanting the traditional trappings of womanhood, and basically wanting that maybe over a career, and they want to punish her for that. They want to say that it's misogynistic. It's completely ridiculous. It has no meaning, because the movie is a profile that's sympathetic in nature. It doesn't exploit her. It shows exploitation. It shows what she went through from, yes, a mostly fictional artistic lens. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna. No, I agree with you. I just want to jump in. I actually was like, unlike the last two segments where I didn't know almost anything about, I actually do know this one because I saw the movie. I know Marilyn Monroe's story pretty well. It's fascinating on so many levels. Marilyn Monroe is still someone, an American icon, and if you know anything about her real story, she is. She kind of is the dark side of what we value as Americans, at least our professional goals, our feelings about celebrity. Marilyn Monroe is a scary case of getting everything you wanted or everything you dreamed for. And it turns out that is its own kind of gilded cage. That's its own kind of special hell. And look, that included abortion. The whole system was broken and she felt all the problems of it. The film is not pro-life in any sense. It makes no sense. That's like, because I'm trying not to get very political, but it is ridiculous. The movie is really interesting. If you guys haven't seen it and have time on Netflix, it has a very like dreamlike kind of state. It's an interesting mix of almost biopic and like the Aronofsky, some of his older films. I kind of like it. Yeah. I saw it was pretty good. I think I'm going to rewatch it after listen to you guys talk about it. It is pretty interesting. I just think we've become, I don't know, our topics or the way we talk about our conversations are so dumb, because this actually is a really great film. And that's like not the most important of issues on it. But I mean, what should we expect at this point?
You want to know what I find extremely ironic? The fact that this person and Planned Parenthood are so outraged over somebody using a pro-life agenda, and it's like, well, look at all the freaking movies that used pro-abortion agendas. How the fuck dare you that freaking say, well, they shouldn't have did this? It's like, what the hell have you guys been endorsing for the last few years? What the hell have you been freaking putting in shows like Legacies, The Originals, Vampire Diaries, CW shows all over the fucking place? So many other shows out there too on CBS and this and that. And you guys have the gall to freaking go after one movie for the sake of, they showed her having regret for a forced abortion. How about you have a little compassion for the woman, considering that they took her right away, her right to choose? Did you ever think of that, Planned Parenthood? Oh no, of course you didn't, because you're too fucking obsessed with actually killing babies instead of saving them.
I'll actually let Johnson close this topic out, because I know you have a lot to say about this one. I know you haven't seen the movie yet, but essentially they're complaining about the fact that a woman had an abortion and essentially regretted it, because essentially it's an abortion that was against her will to begin with, and this is their takeaway from the movie.
I'm not really surprised at their reaction, because this is to be expected. They live and die by their narrative that abortion is a good thing, and it is not. The reality of it is that it is not. So, a lot of people who get abortions have struggles conceiving afterwards. Some of them die. They talk about this number, like 10,000.
I think we lost you there.
She froze. She put herself in carbon stasis.
Planned Parenthood got her.
Well, if she could come back, we'll definitely put her back up there and finish her point, because she was on a good point there.
Fun fact: I actually live right next to a Planned Parenthood. Right where I park my car is the Olympia, Washington Planned Parenthood.
So real quick, I was actually going to ask Rob to be like, can you yell across the street at the Planned Parenthood and say, fuck you, Planned Parenthood?
No, not as often as the homeless people that try to like break in and steal people's cars and shit. So we have that problem too.
But yeah, you were saying something, Jonathan. And
that's okay. I said, of course, I've been talking about important things, so of course I cut out now. But they've been shown to lie about their cancer screenings. They've been shown to lie about their adoption services. Margaret Eicner was loudly advocating for the extermination of Black people. So they're very racist. And actually, Darwinian theory will feed into that, because Darwin actually said that Black people were inferior to white people, and that was an evolutionary thing. We've seen now that that's wrong too. So it's just I kind of have to chuckle at their response, because it's really sad and really pathetic. And this is a movie that is allowed to have creative expression and freedom, and I think a lot of that should resonate with reality. I don't think, from what I've heard about the movie, that it accurately portrays everything about her life anyway. So, yeah, Rob's nodding.
The thing is, those scenes when she's getting the abortion, it's like a nightmare. Like, a lot of the movie is a hallucinatory, very glamorous at times, but like hellish nightmare of what this woman went through. And to me, that's feminist. It shows her experience. And for Planned Parenthood to say that doesn't matter is, to me, asinine. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, it's not the first time that they've lied about movies. Yeah. When the Center for Medical Progress videos came out and they got a report saying that it was edited, it was really only cut down for time. None of the content was edited, none of the audio that the people were saying was taken out. And I mean, like, that's actually in court records and nobody wants to follow up on it. And the DA who turned around and then prosecuted the guy who got them and the lady that was working with him was none other than Kamala Harris. So congratulations, America.
We didn't.
When I will say, like, too, when people talk about the subject, it's always kind of like very emotional and inflaming and stuff. And there's a lot of facts that get wrong. And I think what I try to do when I talk about it is that, like, people, when people talk about time travel, okay, if you go back in time, you're not supposed to change anything unless you were supposed to change something, right? And so if I go back in time and I convince your mom to get an abortion, am I murdering you? Or am I at least causing something to happen or getting a doctor to intervene?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I look at it. You cannot take people away from time. We are creatures of time. And so it's an unfortunate thing where you can't stop people from throwing themselves downstairs, taking too much Tylenol, but I can stand
snitching on themselves in rap songs.
Yep. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's, I don't think the world wants to hear those rap songs.
No.
That'll probably be like an addendum clause for Newsom, though, to add. Women rappers cannot be.
Yeah.
No, she's back.
So.
Yeah, I mean, look, well, we all know what's going on here, especially after the whole Roe versus Wade thing that happened this summer. They're so afraid of any negative portrayal of abortion that it's irresponsible to have a scene like that. It's like, maybe it was irresponsible if it didn't actually happen, but it did, and it's well documented. So how can you sit there and say that it's irresponsible to tell a story about what actually happened to a well-known star in Hollywood? Because, I mean, let's be honest, the abortion part was rough. There was a lot of other scenes in that movie that was really rough that happened in the Marilyn Monroe too. I mean, there's one scene where she literally, her first audition in Hollywood, she gets straight up raped by a fucking producer and then just walked out like in shame. And then, like, there's parts where she's, as a child, almost being murdered by her own mother, things of that nature. So, I mean, there's a lot of rough things in that. But to point that one scene out of all the other scenes of trauma in this film just kind of exposes your whole agenda to this whole movie. Because, like I said, if you hadn't had even brought this up, and no one would have even probably given too much thought to it, but the fact that all of these critics probably gave this film a negative review just based off of that scene alone just tells you where we are as far as like film criticism goes, and the whole way our society is going with the topic of abortion to begin with. So,
it is an emotionally charged topic. So, and I think with with things, it needs some element of nuance, and more of a case by case thing. So
yeah. Any other topic? Any other discussions on the topic before we wrap it up here?
I think you covered it pretty well.
Yeah. All
Well,
right,
unless
then.
you want
Well,
to bring up like the Gundam lesbian
No.
situation.
no. No, we've come to the end of this show here. It's been a great 2 hours with a lot of actually very good topics we have here tonight. This is a very good show. So I'm going to go ahead and go around the horn here and give everyone a chance to promote stuff that they're working on, let you guys know what we have coming up later this week and going into next week. So let me start with Mr. Orange Hat. He can let you know what he has coming up. I think you may have a mystery review coming up not too far away. Is that true?
Well, tomorrow I have a guest choice review with an ambassadorial wing. We're going to be talking about The Mummy, the Brendan Fraser one, the good one, the fun one. October is horror movie for the mystery reviews. Next week's review hint is I Like Your Doll. It's could be a bunch of different movies, especially if well, considering how many movies there are about killer dolls and whatnot. So yeah, if you guys can figure it out, just I got that going on Tuesday mornings, 10:30 a.m. like usual. Tomorrow's review is going to be at 9:30 p.m. on my channel with the ambassadorial wing. And other than that, if anybody wants to come on to my channel for another guest choice review, you get to pick the time, the date, and the movie. And if you want to get into the Halloween theme, you can pick a horror movie that we could all discuss and whatnot. It'd be fun.
All right, let's hop over to our other good buddy all the way from Planned Parenthood, Mr. Rob Motto.
Oh, how's it going, everybody? It's the end of another wonderful show. Watching a lot of Halloween-inspired movies this month. Watching the Halloween franchise. It's currently number 5 tonight. So,
ooh, have fun with that one.
People
hate that
away.
one. People hate that one, but I love it.
Which one is that? The Curse of Michael Myers?
Is it the Rob Zombie one?
No.
The Revenge Michael Myers, maybe?
I think it is The Revenge of Michael Myers. The Return, I believe, is 4.
Yeah, Return. Yep. Just looking at my streaming list there. I've got a couple reviews out this week. I think Blonde is probably my number 1 right now for the year, but I think October is going to be a lot better than September. There's a couple movies I'm actually looking forward to, including Amsterdam this weekend, Tar by Todd Field, which is about a musical conductor of all things. And then James Gray's movie's coming out at the end of the month, but he said it's all about like confronting Trumpism. So I will go see it, but I'm very hesitant to be like, okay, James Gray, can you not do this before you release a movie? He talked about toxic masculinity with Ad Astra like 3 years ago. So please just shut the fuck up and make movies, please. That's all I ask, Hollywood.
Let's hop over to the southern portion of the state that he's in, jump over to California. Nerdigans, what do you got coming up? I know you got a lot.
Yes, I got a lot. I got a couple of interviews that I'm doing. One with the Mob Psycho 100 voice actor. I'm just waiting to hear back from. And then I got an interview with the head of one of the Steam games that got banned. I got to get all that set up now that my mind is all cleared. I had a little bit of an incident earlier today. It was not fun. Then I have a story about the scriptwriter of Lycoris Recoil that got attacked by a bunch of really pissed off Chinese shippers. And then I have the stuff for Bleach that's coming up. Yes, we finally, after pestering the hell out of Hulu and Viz, we finally got answers on Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War. Thank God. And then, of course, the usual stuff in terms of my channel, Nerdigans Inc. I have a bunch of manga content always coming out because manga never sleeps, unfortunately. And even on Yom Kippur, it doesn't sleep. So in the midst of my fasting, I will be working on content and coming on the stream tomorrow for Digimon Tamers, which is going to be so much fun.
Oh yeah, well, that's going to be a good one. I'll tell you a little bit more about that one in a bit here. Let's go ahead and enjoy our newbie here and let him get a chance to talk about all the things he has going on here. Pete, you did great tonight. I think a lot of people loved your commentary. So where can they find more of you?
Yeah, thank you for letting me have on the show. I've been meaning to get on here for a while, so I'm glad it finally happened. We just released an article, Bleeding Fool and I, about G4 TV. I got very curious about what happened behind the scenes, and so I worked on this project for a lot longer than I'd like to admit. But anyhow, we were able to track down some sources. My friend Vito is a YouTuber, creative person, a little controversial, but he knows people because he used to be in gang journalism, and he knows people in the LA Burbank area in TV production. And so through him, we connected with a source, and then we looked and we got some other people. There's surprisingly a lot of people that used to work at G4 TV that aren't happy campers. So anyhow, so the story is what killed G4 TV, the full story revealed. And we go into some of the behind the scenes things that people didn't know about. I didn't know about. A few things we had wrong on, and things were really way more broken back there than I think we realized. I was also a lot less unplanned. I think a lot of us had assumed that G4 TV, with Comcast permission, to kind of gone the route of that initial rant that went so big, the not as bangable rant with Frost, and we all thought that maybe that was a planned thing because it was like instantly the rant happens, then they have social media on, and then they have articles. It felt like within an hour of it. And that was kind of weird. But no, actually, it turns out it was not planned at all. Frost did it totally on her own without telling anyone at the last minute, put in the teleprompter, and everything we see there, Adam Sessler clapping like a seal, people yelling in the background. It seems like the whole room is there supportive of her. All of that is fake. None of that is real. That was all edited in post. In reality, most of the company immediately understood that she had done something very destructive and were very much against. And they had just used footage they already had for other projects. Adam Sessler doesn't even live near the studios. He lives 6 hours away to the north of Burbank. So it's really interesting. I think it's a cool story for all of us that's been a little bit obsessed with the G4 TV story. I love the original so much. It's a big reason why I like writing stories or into nerd culture, or I'm a journalist. So it's neat to be able to get a bit of a bow on this. And I hope anyone that's interested, they can look it up on Bleeding Fool and learn some more information, see for themselves.
You want to know what killed G4? Comcast in 2004. Everything else has just been The Walking Dead ever since. But yeah, that kind of blows my mind that she basically went into business for herself and did that whole thing. So I'm kind of surprised they didn't fire her outright from the jump. They probably could have saved face a little bit had they had done that. But here we are now.
The two theories I was most commonly told was that one, that there were factions of the company, and the faction that were more supportive of her also would be the ones in the executive suite, and they were protecting her. The other theory was Comcast was hoping that maybe in case of weather the storm should be useful, because they started this thing on the promise from Tucker Roberts, the Comcast son, this would be an esports thing. We're going to do this. It's going to be esports. They'll be small first, then it'll be really big, and then we'll be the people in America that cover esports. We'll be the esports guys. And so there are a few people that are still kind of like hoping that would be true. And if that's true, we need to have this esports cast around. I don't know which totally is the real deal there, but for whatever reason, they definitely held out on not firing her to even the last minute until she put out that tweet that was just in very bad taste with the smoking iguana that said "I survived." And then even then, the people who were supporting are like, "Oh, that we just can't do it anymore, Frost. I'm sorry."
Yeah, you've killed this company enough. So, look, I definitely recommend you guys check out that article on Bleeding Fool. I might even retweet it right after the show is over. So go check that one out. Our good friend who's not in New York but is still responsible for all the bad things that happened there, Co-Classic Gage, tell where they can find you. I know you got something coming up later this week, right?
Yes. We have the Too Real for Feels podcast this Thursday. It is every other Thursday, and it's where me and a lot of my close friends that I've been gaming with for a long time just chop it up, talk about gaming or films that we're interested in. I think one of the big topics of this podcast is going to be the Mario movie trailer that's going to drop the same day, a few hours beforehand. So that's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. And it's a little bit of a controversial thing since they casted, Hollywood actors to fill these roles from a voice acting perspective. So, I mean, I'm interested to see how it is. I'm open to it being cool, but if it's bad, definitely going to give my honest opinion. But yeah, tune into that on my YouTube channel, D2 Real 4 Feels podcast this Thursday on the Cult Classic Cage YouTube channel. And I just uploaded a video where I'm talking about the movies that I'm going to be watching over the course of October. I just watched The Exorcist today, and it's always an interesting visit when you watch that movie. It's one of those movies where you kind of have to be in a certain mood to watch it. But nonetheless, very important movie to the genre of horror, no doubt. And I'm excited to bask in the Halloween season, the October month. So yeah, that's what I got going on the YouTube channel. I might be seeing maybe Smile or Pearl tomorrow. I might do a review on that. I'm probably going to do a review on the new Hellraiser movie. And it's going to be coming from the perspective of someone that's never seen a Hellraiser movie before. So it's going to just be an honest thoughts on that film. Take it or leave it. So yeah, you want to talk to me, go always hit me up on Twitter, Cult Classic Cage, or on Twitch if you want to watch me play video games, Cult Classic Cage.
All right, then moving down to the south, let's talk to our good friend C.S. Johnson. Like I said, I know you had a lot of things going on. You had a successful Kickstarter, so go ahead and tell people where they can find more of you.
Oh, okay. Here, I'll just put it in the link. So again, get your mod to approve it, you know?
Mm-hmm. And Spencer isn't going to approve. He's lazy as shit.
Yeah, so I'm C.S. Johnson, and I write fiction, mostly fantasy, science fiction, and fairy tales. I just love my work, and I hope you will too. And I'll probably be here next week.
Same time, same place.
Yeah,
and then
friends like you, man.
Mm-hmm. And then the final person of this Hanna-Barbera cartoon is our good buddy Rick, all the way from Texas. So let people know what you got coming up and where they can find more of you.
Well, I'm still at Rick's Cafe Texan or Rick's Texan Reviews. I'm going to see if I can finally work with the reviews of the TV version of Blonde. I'm getting ready to watch Catwoman, so pray for me.
Oof.
And I already got my tickets for Amsterdam because my bestie wants to see that movie. And I also I just want to say I'm a Halloween virgin because I've never seen a single Halloween movie. And the first one I'll be seeing is this one, the Halloween when it ends, whatever this.
What?
Yeah, and
I just eat this man.
What?
How am I gonna watch the last movie that's based on lore of 4 previous movies, sir?
I don't know. I've never gotten around to watching a single Halloween movie, and this will be good because I'll be going in with a completely open perspective as to what Halloween is. So
that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing.
Well, like watching the new Hellraiser, you don't have to watch the previous films because it's like a reimagining of the franchise. Literally, Halloween Ends is based on 3 previous movies' lore directly.
So I won't understand the nuances of the plot. That's what you're telling me. Well, we'll find out.
There's 11 Halloween movies, Rick, I'm pretty sure.
Gosh. But if it's
you only have to watch 3.
If it's any consolation, I did laugh at The Exorcist when I first saw it, except for the crucifix. Except for the crucifix thing, which was creepy. I will grant that. The rest of it was hilarious to me. But no, I'm not going to watch any Halloween movie until Halloween ends, so that I could go into this. It's going to be an interesting experiment, and
it's a failure.
I want to go in. I want to go in a total innocent. I want to go in pure, so I can go in and see what they're.
You're a boomer. There is nothing pure about you, sir.
You know, my favorite film critic is a Gen X guy who loves horror movies, and you're really dropping the bag, Rick. Gen X is supposed to be all about those neo nasties and the fucked up Faces of Death movies and shit. And like, I've never seen a Halloween movie. Really?
I'm gonna
Carpenter.
watch the last one. I'm gonna watch Halloween Ends.
Yes, I have never seen a Halloween movie. I've never seen a Friday the 13th movie or a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Kick this person off of YouTube.
Oh my God. My mom would never take me to see things like that.
You know you are, Rick.
I will jump right in here and tell Rick, you're not alone, my friend, because I have never watched a bunch of Halloween movies either.
Oh
Thank you.
I watched the original Halloween with my mom at the age of 4, and there was no regrets. I was horrified of Michael Myers till I was like 17. I thought he was hiding in my basement. So.
Oh, see, I feel bad because Halloween is like my least favorite holiday, and everybody else loves it.
You know you are, Rick. You're the person who, instead of reading the whole book, just reads the last chapter, then tries to pretend like he understands the story because he read like chapter 16.
Well, this is not the first time that I've done this, because I actually ended
So you didn't learn from your mistakes?
No, because actually the last episode, the only episode that I've seen of Breaking Bad was the finale.
Oh my God, dude! I'm sorry. Here's the problem: is that Rick is the only one on this panel who can write like classic movies and shit.
Yeah.
But I also, when I was younger, sought out horror movies and like shocking content, basically. And so it's like I don't understand. I led
a very sheltered life. My mom was not going to take me to see any of those movies, though she did, and without besmearing her memory, she did take me to see Basic Instinct because she loved Michael Douglas and was unaware of what the movie was about.
Took you to go see this woman's vagina, but not Halloween?
Right, she didn't know what the movie was about. She just knew it was Michael Douglas. She just knew it was Michael Douglas, and she was madly in love with Michael Douglas. So she took me to see Basic Instinct, and I had no idea what's going on. And my mom is just turning 50 Shades of Red. So I didn't know what was.
She's
going
not like
on.
taking you out of the movie theater.
No. I mean, I was accompanied by an adult, so it was fine. So no, I would have stick to that, watching the Halloween Ends, and then everything will be explained to me.
Oh my God, I'm not doing it. I refuse.
Okay, I need to wrap this up because this whole thing is just going completely off the rails here. I just asked him to tell you guys where to find to read the fucking blog, and then somehow it's devolved into this.
Off the rails doesn't even cover it, man.
The fact that
this dude jumped like 5 states and crashed off of those rails.
Yeah,
guys, Donkey Kong Country.
The rails were
when you're in the cart and you got to jump on the track. That's exactly what it is. It's just jumping.
Oh my God!
I can tell you the last video game I played. Probably the last video game I
could tell you. I could tell you where you could find Rick. You could find Rick rolled up in a carpet like Pam Grier in Fort Apache, the Bronx. Okay, thank you.
I thought you were going to be like rolled up in a carpet like Elizabeth Taylor and Cleopatra. That would have been a reference. I would have understood better.
All right, that's actually one of my favorite movies. So yes, I would have understood that reference too.
I'm done. Just get me out of this nightmare.
Okay, we need to end this. So tomorrow, myself and this person right here, and her cat, by the way, we're gonna be talking about Digimon Tamers on the latest episode of Retro Wave Reviews. So we'll be talking about that show, the greatest Digimon show ever. It is 20 years ago, and it still holds up to this day. We'll be talking about that one tomorrow. We'll also be on the Black Pill stream tomorrow night with Spencer, who's in the chat yelling at Rick right now. Josh, John Trent will all be talking about the biggest news of the day. I'm pretty sure we'll be talking about Bros a little bit. We'll be talking about a couple of other big news. I know there's a lot of trailers dropped for Wakanda Forever. There's a lot of talk about Atlantis.
Did my reaction for that.
Oh yeah, he also Orange Chat also has a reaction of that on his channel, so go check out his channel as well.
Yep.
And then next Monday night, myself, Rob, and Rick are going to be talking about the film Amsterdam. We'll be talking about that film next Monday night. Then, of course, next Tuesday night we'll be back here, same time, episode 19 of the Barroom Podcast. It's going to be very, very interesting here, to say the least. So, for everyone who joined us, except for Rick, I'm glad you guys showed up tonight. I'm glad that you guys are graced us with your presence. for everyone in the chat, I know there was a bunch of people in the chat. So Chirping Critics is here. I know Dre was with us a little bit. Tatsu Sama was here. John joined us a little bit in the chat. Neo, Duke Nukem, Spencer, all you guys. If I missed you guys, definitely hit me up later. But for everyone who joined us for the show here tonight, like, thank you guys for wasting our time with us. But it's time to go home. It's time to wrap things up. Let's go ahead and get out of here. We're going to hit the outro. Hit us with some Spring Yard, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night for Retro Wave Reviews, Digimon Tamers, and then Black Pill Stream also tomorrow night as well. So until then, goodbye. See you later. And hopefully you guys go see some Halloween movies before this last one comes out. Let's put it that way. Later, guys.
Take care.
Stay home.